All right, good morning. It is a feel-good Friday football fiesta, the eve of the Husker games, even though they should have called it the Hunger Games. It's a very optimistic Friday for a lot of people.
Even me.
Speak for yourself.
Whoa,
Oh, yeah, definitely me.
Whoa.
It's going to be a great day today.
This is a feel-good Friday.
For
There
you.
is hope.
For
There
you.
is optimism.
For you.
No.
Even me.
No.
I woke up in a great mood.
No.
I woke up in a bad mood.
There are 32 NFL teams that last night.
We
some
got
that
John
had a
Morant
pick or not
here.
a pick. Their hopes and optimism went through the roof. And another night in the National Football League where 80% of the NFL does not know how to draft. We sit there and go, how do guys fall to Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Kansas City? How did they fall all the way there?
And who's playing in late January most years? Some collection of those.
Yeah. You know what? It was a good night for the National Football League, which has a grip on us. I'm very, very happy this morning. How are you doing?
Bad.
Why are you doing bad? By the way, welcome in to Gary and Matt with Jimmy on a Feel Good Friday.
2 of 3 in a great mood.
We got lots to talk about.
I'm doing
lots
very
to
bad.
talk about. How are you in a bad mood?
Because my team can never be normal. My team can never just take the best player
Told you,
available.
get used to
My
it.
team can never just roll with the punch. Do you know what? Do you know why I'm in a bad mood? My team can never do what I want.
No. Let's
Ever.
No, let's do this. Let's do this. You know what you are?
What am I?
You are a lot of analysts that were apparently yapping about the draft last night. By the way, I stuck on NFL Network. I'm very happy I made that decision.
So
I just wish they could move Louis Riddick over after Colorado doesn't have Sanders on the roster. But I stuck with the NFL Network. And there's, a lot of people have a lot of opinions.
Shout out Rich
Some people
Eisen.
have shows. There's people that are into theatrics and drama instead of looking at the tape.
yes.
I think that you're theatrics and drama guy instead of looking at the tape.
Let me tell you something right now. I
should share your text messages with everybody. My man was in a world of hurt. I don't know why.
My roommate is unfortunately he's working, but I didn't know he was home. The lights were off and everything like that. And I
there
had
a sock on the door?
I had a nope.
Whoa.
No.
What just stop.
No.
It's a feel good Friday.
It is. Well, it would have been for him.
I had a Richie and Papillion moment in where there was a lot of just angst and yelling and screaming and just not happy. Let me tell you something right now. I was mad at the pick. I was mad at the pick when it happened because
No.
I've never
Before you
seen
go
him
any
this
further,
sad.
When I say theatrics and drama, you lost money on the pick. That's why you're upset.
That yes,
Oh.
but I was
That is
but wait,
okay.
I can give
All
you
right. I take back
Yeah,
everything
so
I said.
So I just
Wait.
want to give people a little groundwork here before my man, Mick Sportsbook over here, goes into this diatribe
Never mind.
bashing his favorite team. The passion you have for the Chicago Bears is unmatched. So I'm going
had
to be
me
the
fooled.
reasonable one, but go ahead.
So first off, I was more mad at New Orleans because I
'Cause you
had
lost money.
I had Michael
Yes.
Williams as opposed to Calvin Banks Jr. And I told everybody, nah, they're not going to draft a tackle. It's Michael. It's been Michael the entire time. So that's why I'm mad. Here's why I was mad. Because you know this. We've talked on air and off air. I had 2 prospects that weren't a part of the top 5 that I loved. Jalen Walker and Tyler Warren. Both of them were available for the Bears to pick. So I was sitting at 10, feeling great, feeling incredible. Oh my God, we're going to get one of the 2 guys that I absolutely love. We're going to knock it out of the park. And then we drafted Colston Loveland, who I don't care what Michael
I said that yesterday
Severe.
on the air, by the way.
That they would draft him.
Yeah.
I don't care what Michael Severe was texting me. I don't care that Michael Severe thinks that he is the best tight end.
Wait, I
that
thought he knows
is-
the draft. This should
he
make
was
you
trying
feel-
to tell me that it was a great pick.
Our
Okay.
Mick Sportsbook over here, just let him go, and then we're going to help him.
And then I kind of came to after being very, very mad that they didn't take one of my 2 guys. And I recognized that me questioning Ben Johnson selecting an offensive player is like me telling Albert Einstein, hey, you might want to check the math. Okay. So if this was an Eberflus pick, I would be irate. I would be yelling. I would be kicking. I would be screaming. I would be telling you that this guy doesn't know anything, that my team is incompetent, that they just can never do anything like right or normal. But the silver lining is that we have Ben Johnson, and he hasn't played a game yet as a head coach in the NFL, which means that he hasn't lost a game yet, which means that I still trust him implicitly. So,
wow, this is going to be fun to follow this fall.
I am okay. Would I be feeling much better if Tyler Warren was selected? Absolutely.
Okay, so this is how I'm looking at you. You are young Matt, okay, that lives in Chicago that likes to call sports talk radio stations. Yes. This is what you are. And so you get upset at a pick. I'm going to be talk show host and tell you that I think that you should just take a deep old breath there, boy, because Ben Johnson is your head coach. Don't you like Ben Johnson?
You
give him the benefit of the doubt, right?
I love Ben Johnson.
Okay. There was a guy.
Second coming of
there
Mark
was
Trestman.
a guy in Detroit named T.J. Hawkinson that caught footballs under Ben Johnson when Ben Johnson was calling plays, right? Is Ben Johnson still calling plays in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay. So I get why you're a little bit upset because Indianapolis is very happy this morning that they got Tyler Warren. But you know what? You should be happy as well. You know why?
Why should I be happy?
Because I think this is a really, really good pick. I don't think you could have gone wrong with either Loveland or Warren. And I'll tell you why. Because another part of why I think you're being sports talk caller guy is it was very anticlimactic because often like big time offensive linemen weren't there that maybe you had an eye on, and Genty wasn't there. And then you're like, oh, but if you have Ben Johnson as your head coach, which you love, and you should,
and I love him,
he does kind of get the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, he does.
You drafted a tight end who had a really, really good year despite having really, really bad quarterback play. And he's physical. He gives you stuff you can do in that offense. You still got your quarterback, right? He didn't go anywhere yesterday, did he?
He's supposedly
You
coming.
still got some nice weapons on offense, right?
I have some very nice weapons on offense.
Okay. All right. You can be, isn't he he's a tight end that you can be creative with, right?
Yes, absolutely. He's a route runner. He's like a bigger wide receiver.
Okay.
These are good things, right?
I loved the guys who were there. I loved them. I told you Jalen Walker, and I still think he's going to be the best player in this draft. I have been loving Tyler Warren since week 2 of this college football season. Mm-hmm. So much so that I've watched him, and I told people, man, it's a damn shame we have Komet because this is the thing I said, I would love Tyler Warren to be on my team during the football year. So when you have 2 prospects that you're absolutely in love with, and they're both sitting there, and then they draft the other guy, I'm going to have a knee-jerk, very negative, what the heck reaction. Yes, everything else about the pick makes sense. But I do want to say, me being
this sports talk calling guy.
No, because you guys win Super Bowls. You guys this is like
people forget.
The draft is easy for you. All right.
What slot did Kansas City draft in last night?
32.
Just like old times, baby.
This is easy for you. This is
so
no
you like
stress
your pick.
for you.
Okay, good.
This is no sweat.
I definitely like my pick.
The last 6 years, you guys have this hasn't.
This isn't a Chiefs conversation. Why are the Chiefs in this conversation?
Because this is my Super Bowl, and you play in the actual Super Bowl. Do you know what your Super Bowl is? The one where they play the game for the Lombardi. My Super Bowl is this thing, okay? And when they screw this thing up in my mind
it's
at the time, I get really mad about it.
Kevin Warren liked the pick.
No,
I like blue.
I like the pick.
Blazing blue.
I like the pick.
Old Big Ten.
Dude, we have a lot of. DJ Moore, Maryland, Big Ten wide receiver. Yeah. Rome Odunze, Washington, Big Ten wide receiver. Tight end from Michigan, Big Ten.
Oh, an actual Big Ten school.
We have if we draft Trevion Henderson today, it'll be a Big Ten running back. Cole Kmet went to Notre Dame. That might as well be a Big Ten school. We're just a bunch of we're a Big Ten NFL team.
Well, it was a Big Ten draft.
Yeah.
SEC had more picks, but 26 of the 32 are out of 2 leagues. You don't think there's some separation going on?
Probably.
Yeah. The Big Ten and the SEC keep separating themselves from the rest of football. And guys like Kirby Smart and Ryan Day are like, All right, what recruit should I call today after my night at the NFL draft? But here's the thing about the draft, and I absolutely love what the Chiefs did with Josh Simmons.
So
I
good.
got Moore and Taylor as my tackles. Taylor's on the last year of a 20-year deal or a $20 million deal. I got a guy who got injured 6 games into this past year, but he gave up, 1 sack and 23 on 443 snaps.
Crazy.
He had only given up 1 hurry in the first 6 games, had not given up a sack. He would probably be the first or second offensive tackle off the board if he was healthy. And yet, all the medicals, and, injured guys heal. It's crazy.
I've heard
some
this.
guys don't, but a lot of injured guys heal.
I'm working to confirm
And Kansas City put him through all of the tests just to make sure. And when he started to fall and there was a little run on guards, I thought, this might happen. This might happen. And then when Philadelphia traded with Kansas City, I thought, well, Philadelphia doesn't need a tackle.
Yeah.
This is my guy. The fact that he fell to 32 and can essentially, for a little bit, redshirt, even though Andy Reid said late last night that he will be healthy for training camp. Yes, I love the pick.
Winning teams do winning things.
I love the pick at 32. But here's what happened last night with the draft. And this is the separator in the NFL. And we'll get to the story that has hijacked the NFL, unfortunately. Well, I'm not going to mention his name yet because we will
it's
talk
a 4-hour
about him
show.
Like everybody else will talk about him.
Yeah.
It's so on brand for the Tennessee Titans in a bad quarterback draft that they have the number 1 overall pick and go with the quarterback, and his night gets hijacked by a quarterback that wasn't even drafted in the first round. We'll get to that. But
that's a good point.
This draft continues to show you, and the league continues to show you, that you must have patience. You must have patience with Mr. Loveland, okay? You just have some patience.
He's talking to me too. I have no patience.
We'll get to your pick.
I like him, and I
patience.
trust Ben.
Hey.
Okay, like I said, if this was an Eberflus pick, there would be no like pullback. Hey, maybe they know what they're doing.
Benefit of the doubt,
Absolutely, until he loses to Green Bay.
Well, that may happen. Green Bay will have a nice team. They drafted a
good receiver.
Oh,
should have been Aaron Rodgers that came out and announced that Green Bay was getting a wide receiver. But
hey, get ready to learn Jalen Johnson, buddy.
Like I just said, the draft shows you that if you have patience and you stick to your plan and you don't, unless you really feel good and you go and fleece somebody.
Yeah.
The Pittsburghs, the Philadelphias, the Baltimores, the Kansas Cities,
the winners
that sit there and have really good GMs that maybe they don't always have great first rounds, but the meat and potatoes come today in the second and third round. But those are the teams that you go, how did they fall to him? How did Starks fall to Baltimore? He fits with a dynamic defensive back room. How does Pittsburgh, being smart in that division where you build on the defensive line, you go and get Harmon? I mean, teams that draft like this, like Howie Roseman got Campbell from Alabama. There were some people that I trust had him in the top 12. All of a sudden, he's there at 31, and they continue the pattern of, why overthink in Philadelphia?
Why?
Let's go to the SEC where they play great defense, and let's find the best defensive teams, and let's go get Georgia Bulldogs and Alabama Crimson Tide. It is uncanny every single year how good there are front offices that 80% of the league doesn't know how to do the draft, and the other 20% do, and those are usually the ones that either playing on the final Sunday of the NFL season or the next to last.
So I'm looking at the back half of the draft, and I'm like, wow, this is why these teams are here. In terms of the picks that they made, the positions that they were in, the needs that they filled.
And people go, how'd they get away with
exactly.
it?
Winners win.
Like starting at Malachi Starks, they're like, here we go. Baltimore, like once again, like getting better on defense. Then you go to Tyleik Williams, I really like Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. And Detroit has had this pattern of like, they don't take chalk necessarily, but they take the position. Yeah. They draft Jahmyr Gibbs. People go, what? He ends up being great. They take Lucas Van Ness. You go, what? He ends up being really good. I think Tyleik is a similar pick where you go, really? And then like he'll end up being a perfect complementary piece to an already pretty damn good defensive line, especially with Aiden Hutchinson coming back. And then the last 4 picks, Connerly, Harrison, Campbell, Simmons. You're like, damn. You're like, good prospect. Like, these are why, like, Mina Kimes is awesome. Okay, I think that she is absolutely
Was she featured
brilliant.
much last night on ESPN?
No.
I did not.
I didn't watch one second.
So to full disclosure, Richie and Pavilion's party, the 10th annual one. I think we all sat in the room with a Packer and a Dolphin fan and a Giant fan outside of Dart.
Oof.
And me as a Chiefs fan, I think we all were happy with our pick. So we never turned over to ESPN, but of course on social media I've seen it. Was she featured?
Not a ton.
Okay.
It was so I did the first half on ESPN and I did the second half on NFL Network because I wanted the contrast of like which one do I like better.
You're doing the Lord's work. For us.
A lot of Field Yates, like a ton of Field who look good. I like Field. I think Field is solid. I don't know. I like Field in a more like informal area when he's just kind of talking ball. Like he was a little bit too like formal and like sports like broadcastery, if that makes any sense. I unfortunately,
like that word.
Yeah,
What do you do for a living? I'm a sportscaster.
Yeah, he was a little too sports broadcastery for me. You know, it's just like, come on, Field, loosen up a little bit. But unfortunately,
his name is Field.
I should have flipped it. I should have done NFL Network in the first half and ESPN in the second half because, and I haven't seen it yet, but I called my father because, you know, we were just talking about picks and stuff. Apparently,
you couldn't get in on the score.
No,
Lines you back
no,
call your dad and give him your sports talk call-in rant.
No, he gave me his because he didn't want to call in. But
this is good though. He use each other for this.
Well, absolutely. Like at one point I was kind of talking to him like, Mike, come on now. Like it's Ben, you can trust him. But
call your dad by your first name?
No, I was like joking as if I was like a sports talk host. Like Mike, come on. You know, we got to give it time, Mike. Did
your dad hang up on you?
Role playing. Yeah.
He goes, no, my dad goes, I'll shut up and listen. He hung up the phone. But it'd be funny if my dad called me one time and be like, hey, for long time listener, first time caller. I should have flipped it because apparently Kuiper had an all-timer in terms of freaking out that person.
Not in the first segment. We'll save that for the any discussion about.
I know that, but apparently he had a banner night, so I was a little disappointed that I wasn't able to catch the Kuiper meltdown because that's. If I'm being honest with you guys,
I guess he wasn't the only one at ESPN.
I kind of hate how every pick was a good pick. Like,
not every pick was a good pick.
Well, like,
but if you're like the fan base, you can talk yourself into it.
Well, what I mean by that is I didn't like how it was so positive from the panel every single time. Like I didn't, I kind of missed the days when they would be like, oh, that was crap. That was not good.
So you would miss the days of Pete Kuiper. Now, it's okay.
Yes.
Mel Kiper should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Because what Kuiper and ESPN did, you have 205,000 people outside of Lambeau last night.
Yeah.
And Green Bay is the best college town in the NFL. It is so cool. I watching it last night, the way they had it set up, it looked like a lot more confined, comfortable setup compared to Detroit and Kansas City most recently. I mean, I loved their setup last night.
It was super, like, it was cool. I hate to admit it, but it was really cool.
But Kuiper and ESPN deserve a lot of credit for building that we have 205,000 people last night in a town of 107,000.
Because of what they did in the 80s and 90s.
But the one thing that Kuiper used to do that I guess he did not do last night is, and trust me, there was a lot of glazing going on in ESPN.
A lot.
All right?
Shocker.
I mean, they're at Krispy Kreme this morning. Okay, the whole crew is. But he would go after the Steelers. Like the old Kuiper would crush the Steelers for not drafting Shadur.
Yeah.
But he walked
the Kuiper
line
we grew
of
up with.
The rest of the NFL. Yes, that was Pete Kuiper. Kuiper would attack the Steelers because remember,
thus Bill
remember
Tobin.
what he did? Yeah, remember what he did with the Colts?
Yes.
So
he's done it with everybody.
I've seen the stuff that he is saying, but the problem, like last night, is I think the really, really tied in NFL insiders or reporters, they shine on a night like that because there are other reporters that are into theatrics and drama on draft night.
Yeah.
And so they're probably going to get the attention. And then the meat and potatoes that have good sources and stay, not necessarily in their lane. That's probably a bad word, but they don't.
This is their thing.
Yeah,
this is what they're committed to.
Daniel Jeremiah. They don't, Tom
Pelissero.
They don't get out
No.
They just stick with what they know and what they've been told and who they trust.
Yeah.
I think like nights like last night separate the really, really good and then the ones that are in it for the clickers. Like
I agree.
Schefter.
Yeah.
Schefter, shows up with, and why are we into this world now where we're three-collar guys?
Yeah.
We wear hoodies over our
Was it
shirt
cold?
and tie.
Was it that cold?
It was.
it did
Siri
look-
told me it was 54.
It did. It looked chilly.
Yeah, but I don't like the hoodie and I cannot stand the hoodie and suit combo.
The Andrew Whitworth.
I'm
Andrew
not a
Whitworth
fan.
started.
Ugh.
But there's another thing about last night and the breakdown of whether you like your pick, I love my pick,
Yeah.
everything in between is it's great being a fan, like a fan
Sure.
of the NFL. Like, you wore the gear last night.
Yeah.
You are tied in. Does this change? Does this get us to the Super Bowl? One guy that maybe 3 weeks ago you had no idea who he was.
Yeah, sure.
It shows you how much of a difference there is between what we as fans and media watch and how the NFL perceives a player. That is like night and day.
I agree.
Because look at the mock drafts about the guy we'll get to in the next segment or down the road.
Yeah.
The NFL was trying to tell you everything about him of late first round, early second round.
Yeah.
Everybody else, because they got tied up in his dad and the name, we're telling you, could he go 3?
Yeah.
Could he go 5?
Is John Moore going to call a code red?
Could he go 9?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we think we know ball, but the people that get paid to sit in those little war rooms, and some war rooms we might have to break down because some were not.
They're interesting.
Some were a little bit. They were a bit light.
It was
some you want to
packed.
hang out in.
It was incredible the contrast of like some guys who were like, oh, okay, we're here, and some teams were like, oh, this is like a ball, this is like a gala, this is like
I love
a
how we
massive
all-
like the wives are outside
Yes.
and they're gonna have a party later, and some guys look like they're about to go and hit like a tavern after. It was incredible.
It's a gap between what the NFL looks at a college player, because I think a lot of times we look at through the prism of what they did in college.
Yeah.
And the NFL looks at it, okay, what will they do against grown-ass men?
So
That's a great way of putting it.
It was incredible because there are some people in media who love Dion, who are friends with Dion,
And
who
that's
worked with
fine.
Dion, and
That's
that's
fine.
totally okay. And I remember watching an interview, and he's one of my favorite guys in broadcasting, but he falls into this, was Rich Eisen. Okay. And Rich Eisen had Todd McShay on, who I love Todd McShay. And he brings on Todd. He goes, Todd, we got some people saying that Shadur Sanders, doesn't have a first round grade. And stone cold McShay looked at Eisen and goes, well, he doesn't.
Back to you.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a first round grade. And Eisen was like went wide eyed, was like, oh, what? He goes, he doesn't have first round. And that's what you talk about. And I love Eisen. I think he did a great job hosting yesterday on NFL Network. But it's like that was the difference between guys who are the broadcasters who follow the league, who perceive in a certain way, and a guy like McShay who kind of blurs that line between being a media member and being a scout and being like a dude who looks at prospects through the lenses of NFL front offices. And it's funny, we got fooled yesterday by all the media and all the talk and all the noise and everything like that, because frankly, we're like 3 weeks ago, we're like chalk. It was going to be Ward, then Hunter, then Carter, then Campbell, then Graham, then Genty. And we were like, all right, that's what it's going to be. 2 days later, we're like, oh, throw it up in the air. Like Jacksonville's taking this guy and they're not going to do this and they're going to do that. And then all of a sudden it ended up being that. Like it ended up being the way that a lot of people were looking at it before. But then what happens? A week before the draft happens, all the media floods in. Yeah. Everybody makes the mock drafts. Everybody talks about it. The rumors swirl. No. 4 weeks ago, we had this thing figured out, because if you were paying attention then, that's when you were getting the front office is actually speaking to you and not the people who weren't involved.
It also showed last night the entitlement era does not exist in the NFL.
No.
It still exists in college and will continue, but in the NFL, Mike Schaefer is going to join us coming up a little bit later because Nebraska football wraps up the spring tomorrow with the Husker games. I also got some recruiting news, whether they're trying to flip a guy, whether they're trying to get a restaurant review from Marty Brown, who dined a couple of times in Lincoln yesterday.
Ooh, nice.
Also, Nebraska may have their quarterback for 2027 who wandered into Lincoln yesterday. So Shafe will stop by. Plus, we'll get what he is looking forward to. Also, we'll chat about Pat Stewart. Very impressed. Pat Stewart is a guy that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more, but we'll discuss some of the things that the new GM of Nebraska football said yesterday. That's coming up with Shafe. Matt Verzal stops by as well. That is your Feel Good Friday lineup. You feel any better?
I do. I
Good job.
look, I'm going to be honest. I was
good pick.
You
got a good team.
I was playing it up. I was playing it up a little because I do.
Got great pizza.
You know,
Good
I loved
city.
Warren. You know, I loved Walker.
I know.
Okay.
So does Dallas Clark. I wonder if he'll wear 44.
No, probably not.
How did the
wear
Colts
45?
ever get a top 5 pick?
This is the point. This is part of the reason I'm mad too, because everybody was clowning us on Twitter. I still have pride. I don't like it when people say mean things about me on
You got
Twitter.
a good team.
We have a really, really good offense. We'll have to figure some things out on the back end today. We have a lot of work to do. Jaquan Brisker may never play football again, so we got some work, man. We're looking at the top of the
Dark
Eagles,
Cloud McMaster,
and hey, we're trying to beat the Eagles, and the Eagles have a much better roster than we do. All right, I'm not focused on going 10-6 or 10-7 now. 17 games, so stupid. Or 12-5, and losing in the first round.
I'm used to that.
Exactly.
You get used to it.
I'm trying to win the
Become
Super Bowl,
numb.
and I'm looking at the Eagles, and we got work to do. I'm worried about
the Eagles will be in the Super Bowl.
I'm not worried about the Packers or the Lions or I'm worried about the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm not worried about my team. I love Josh Simmons. I love that pick, but my division got better, and my division was always kind of trending that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Harbaugh got a grinder. Mr. Hampton, get used to carrying the ball 20-plus times in Los Angeles. And then
liked him too.
I mean, the Raiders actually may have figured it out. So I think the AFC West had a pretty good day and is kind of starting to trend that way with 2 playoff teams last year. Could have been a third.
Look, the Chargers and the Raiders said, "Hey, we need to run the ball," and Denver said, "We need to stop the pass." I love Jade Campbell, Jade. Is it Campbell or Brown? Is it Jade out of the
Campbell went to Philadelphia.
Yeah, Jade. Sorry, but anyway, I got him confused. Jade Brown out of Texas.
Yep,
pairing him up with Surtain, that secondary gonna be incredible.
Yeah. Welcome to the NFL. There is hope. There is optimism. Unless you're the Rams, you didn't have a pick yesterday and you traded away. But
they got a good
deal.
If
you want to go to the 4-letter network, hold on here. Let me just, because this is going to tease what we're going to talk about. Hey, there's the mayor. Hey, there's the mayor. Maybe shut down Saddle Creek when it rains around here. Oh, they're not talking about
that guy
who if he doesn't go the first pick by Cleveland tonight.
Don't you want it to happen a little bit?
No, I don't.
Okay,
and I'll explain. I'll explain.
Warm and fuzzy sharp.
No.
Right.
I do.
There's
because he's going to be fine.
He will be fine because now you'll have a 4-year deal, so you're closer to getting the big second contract.
Cha-ching.
That's how I look at it.
A little chip on his shoulder will be good.
You have the lineup brought to you by the Roof Rees at John Higgins Weather Guard. You have the conversation. Also, Nebraska basketball quietly picked up a Tolson. Will he be a Tulsa King? Can Jared Garcia fill the role of Mr. Manfredi?
Oh, is
show.
Is that the Sylvester Stallone?
That's the Sylvester Stallone show.
That's not how I talk.
He was Rocky.
Yeah, and he's been a couple other things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was he in the Expendables?
Well, he was with everybody.
Yeah.
I think it was the strawberry one.
Mm-hmm.
You said Expendables. I thought you said the Uncrustables.
No. He would be grape, though.
Here we go.
Why would he be grape? Because Sly is awesome. I'd be strawberry ahead of grape every day that ends in Y. You know what today ends in? Y.
I mean, he's just standard. That's why he's grape.
Sly Stallone standard? He played Rambo.
He's the highest standard, which is why he's grape.
No. Grape actually, they put a tariff on grape.
They put a tariff on everything.
Yeah, you know what? They put a tariff on grape and said, I don't care.
Put a tariff on tight ends.
They put a tariff on strawberry. Oh, this country would never recover.
They put a tariff on peanut butter, it'd be over. Can you imagine if peanut butter was $9?
Well, peanut butter is kind of expensive right now.
I buy one jar and it lasts me a year.
I like to go to hotels and take all their peanut butter. They have them in the little cartons. They last you a little bit longer.
A little jelly.
Just throw them in your fridge. Mm-hmm. All right, off and running on a Feel Good Friday. Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Anybody out there saying, boy, I wish Nebraska was in the Big 12 still this morning? 26 of the 32 come from 2 conferences.
Jeez.
I mean, the
It's-
drivable road games were fun.
It is the reality of the world that the Power 2 run college football. And Michigan had some dudes. They might have cheated, but they had some dudes. 3 picks in the first 13. Jim Harbaugh might know a little ball.
Might. It's probably the reason why they panicked and picked a Marion Hampton at 2022 because they were thinking, all right, one of these guys has to be here, right? I mean, Loveland or whether it be Grant, like we're going to take a Wolverine, and then they weren't there, and then for 9 picks they tried to figure it out. They couldn't trade back, and they're like, we'll just take like the second best skill position player.
SEC had the most picks again in the first round, but that gap between the SEC and the Big Ten has shortened up a bit. Brian Hartline had a great draft because a wide receiver went in the first round again. So they've had five wide receivers in the last 4 years go at least in the top 20, which is great. Not only, I mean, Hartline, you know the value of him at Ohio State, but I also think it's important. You know, Ohio State's going to get the best of the best wide receivers if they want them. But I think it's important that you can go to a quote-unquote northern school where it's cold and be a wide receiver and get drafted high. Now, not everybody is built like Ohio State. Not everybody has Heartline, but it is something you can sell because what has been, well, why would I ever go north and play in the cold? I'm not going to get drafted. I'm not going to get drafted as, no, you know what? The old adage of it's cold in Green Bay, you know, if you're playing in Starkville, but having a Big Ten school that is not just linemen, but they have wide receivers, I think could benefit the rest of the league if you look at it that way. Now, speaking of wide receivers.
Sure.
So day 2 of the draft, the second and third round begins at 7 o'clock tonight?
Yes.
Ty Robinson, and there'll be 70 guys drafted. The Kansas City Chiefs take Ty Robinson and the 66th overall pick. Ty Robinson is listed on ESPN's board as the
manifesting
7th.
This or
remember they need some defensive linemen. I don't know if Ty is the guy to be next to Chris Jones, but Kansas City likes him. He is listed as the 7th best available defensive tackle. Fedoni is listed as the 9th best available tight end. Now Tommy Hill's name is still popping around.
Yeah.
So it's day number 2, but back to wide receivers.
Yes.
Nebraska, once again, 14 straight years, no first-round draft pick. No first-round draft pick.
Terrible.
A guy who all he wanted to do was drink beer and take care of the animals and the corn in North Dakota. North Dakota State had another offensive lineman.
I know.
By the way, Texas getting an offensive lineman, that's, you know.
You think that'll be a theme?
Yes.
Okay.
But back to wide receivers. So Nebraska doesn't have a first-round guy.
Yeah.
Matt Rule is not in the green room.
No.
But Dana Holgerson and DeKale Shorts had a nice night last night. Matthew Golden. So Matthew Golden is from suburban Houston. And when those two were together at Houston, LSU, Baylor, other schools wanted Golden.
Yeah.
And Shorts was his main recruiter and stuck with him and went over the top to keep him in Houston. And look what he did. He went to Houston, played for Holgerson, was coached by Shorts as a wide receiver. He had nearly 1,000 yards receiving in 2 years. He also had over 400 yards in kickoff returns.
Wow.
He transfers, what was he at Texas for? Yeah, this past year.
Yeah.
So he transfers this past year, gets to the national semifinal, and gets a first-round draft pick.
And
so
was a guy, by the way, who wasn't really on the radar before the college football playoff.
Yeah,
like he was kind of around,
and then he went to the combine and ran a 4.29. Yeah,
incredible. Like he talk about like a late bloomer who people thought he should have went 12 to Dallas, and the fact that he ends up in a pretty damn good place in Green Bay, where immediately he is going to emerge as like their top guy. Like and. The nice thing, too, about him is he's not just coming in and being a top guy and he's got no one around him. Like, they still got Romeo Dobbs. They still have,
Watson.
And Melton. Like, they still have dudes who can go out there and, like, catch the ball around him as well. As much as I hate to admit it, it's a really damn good pick, and it's in a really damn good situation with a damn good player. Like, it's...
I'm used to saying that about
And by the way, to have that moment, too, to have Mark Murphy stepped to the podium to draft the guy at the position they haven't drafted in
pick in Super Bowl
23
17.
years in front of that crowd who it didn't matter. It wasn't best available. They wanted a wideout. They wanted to cheer
They
that.
should have had Aaron Rodgers announce that pick all the years that he wanted a wide receiver. I thought Green Bay. Mark Murphy handled that well. He played to the crowd. I also liked.
I like Mark Murphy.
And then there was Clay Matthews.
Screw Clay Matthews. Who? Clay who?
I don't know. He didn't say who.
Never heard of him.
Yeah.
Never heard of that guy. Clay.
Yeah.
Is he a politician? Clay.
I don't know. He spoke about a politician.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the president passed that message along?
No, I don't believe it.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think he
You don't
called
think
Clay Matthews and said that the Bears suck.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think
He didn't like
happened.
Chicago.
I don't know if you like Chicago or not.
Yeah, I don't think it. Oh, I'm pretty sure he doesn't like Chicago. I don't know. I think isn't Chicago considered a sanctuary city? I believe that
all
he
the things
he
says, and you draw the line there.
I think he called Clay Matthews and said, "Hey, can you pass along that the Bears suck?"
I believe it.
The state was the lowest. It's the lowest points it's been. The margin this year is the lowest it's been since like 1980. It's a really low margin this year. So maybe he does like Chicago.
Quick question here before we get to the calls. Do you think on day 2 that the big hat guy will be back at the Shadur Sanders
big
party?
hat guy? Do you not know who that is?
Who is that?
That's Gilla the Kid.
Who the hell is that?
Even
Is he related to Billy?
Gilla the Kid.
Gilla the Kid. He is
It's a children's show?
massive in the like pop. He's not like a pop artist, but he's like, you know how there are people in music who you don't know, but they're a really big deal amongst the artists because they produce or they like write or like they do things for those guys. Gilla the Kid is one, like, you know, Nardwar. You know who Nardwar is. Gilla,
same
a lot around the same area, and then he's with another co-host who has a very popular podcast with Barstool called $1 Million Worth of Game, and so they host that pod. And Gilla, he was the big hat guy with the Eagles this year too. Same dude. So he's in Dion's clique. So you know, like those videos.
He was sporting that $2 brand that is brand new.
So that's his brand is wearing those big hats and like acting like an idiot.
Gotcha.
So it's Gilla the Kid, also known as Gilly.
So do you think Gilly with the big hat will be back? And do you think that Shadur's draft party will have the same setup tonight?
Shout out Gillies in Pasadena, Texas.
You know what? I think they should. I think they should be like, hey guys, they should celebrate it. Hey, we didn't have the result we wanted tonight. Let's run it back tomorrow. Let's celebrate. Shadur's getting drafted. This is a great accomplishment. Like, I don't think Dion should wave the white flag or Shadur should wave the white flag and be like disappointed or like sad. He's going in the second round. He's, like you said, he's 1 year closer now to getting that massive deal. And, you know, maybe he's going to enter in a better situation in the second round than maybe he would have in the first.
I'm right there with you.
I think someone's getting more positive.
Well,
we're back.
I mean, okay.
All right, Matt's
so
back.
the thing the next step of, because people are having a field day and he's getting clowned, and
we'll talk
the Sanders they're like, you know what, we're going to be fine. We're going to make you pay. You're going to hear that ad nauseum about, we got a chip on our shoulder. We're here to prove it. But the entitlement era is over. You're not being coached by your dad. You're not being drafted by your dad.
No.
And if you handle this correctly, it's a good wake-up call, and now you do what you got to do. But the bottom line is, the NFL said, we've looked at on-field stuff combined with off-field stuff. You didn't throw at your pro day. You didn't throw at the combine. You had bad interviews. This is real football. We pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
You might have been paid more money at Colorado, but we pay a lot of money to make these decisions.
People's employment is
the NFL had no bias. The NFL was just doing what the NFL does.
Because there are so many people who aren't related to this guy whose lives and jobs are on the line. It's more than just like, oh, hey, it's college football. Oh, you're not just trying to win 8 games in the NFL. You're not just trying to have like, oh, we had a good enough season. No. You are trying to win a Super Bowl. You're trying to do things that are incredibly difficult. And if you don't do that, you lose your job. You have to move to a different town. You have to move your entire family. These decisions don't just affect you. They affect everybody.
What if Jalen Milroe went tonight at 33?
I was going to bring that up. I was thinking, what if Shao goes?
Here is old man Doug.
Doug!
Good morning.
Good morning.
How about Clay Matthews?
What about him, Doug? What about him?
I thought that was pretty funny.
I'm
sorry.
glad you laughed at it.
Matt actually thinks it was kind of funny, but he couldn't admit it out loud.
No, I didn't think any part of it was funny. I thought it was disrespectful to one of the charter franchises of the league, to the charter franchise of the league.
And I just wanted to make a comment on Shadur Sanders and the Sanders family in general.
You just cleared
they
your
kind of
throat.
got
This ought
what
to be
they
fun.
deserved. Anybody that flashes his watch and talks about his car that he's driving and everything to back up his play, that's the lead. That's going to be the leader of your franchise, the quarterback. And I'm no draft expert. I know it's the same thing that I get critical of the recruiting so-called experts, and they've really never played the game at a high level, and then they're back, and all they're looking at is measurables and maybe some statistics or something. But I don't think he's that good. I've said it. I've replied to you a few times, Matt. He's going to be a bust in the NFL.
I disagree, but
yeah,
it's okay.
Well,
it's okay.
I mean, we'll revisit this
Sure.
at some point. I mean, I will tell you a long time ago, I thought Ryan Leaf was better than Peyton Manning, and look what happened there. So the intangibles count, obviously. And so I'm just kind of glad to see that the NFL has a brain, and guys like Mel Kiper aren't interviewing Shadur Sanders. And I think that those interviews were spot on as far as what they said. And everybody's saying, well, put your name on it. What NFL executive is going to put their name on it, really? Yeah. I mean, but that's what they were. There was an entitlement there. And like I said, I think he's a grown man. He's an adult. His dad was a much more talented player, could probably back it up. He probably, actually, if I remember right, he wasn't that flamboyant in college.
Whoa.
And he put into work in the NFL, and then he danced around and stuff like that. I mean, maybe the media just didn't cover him as much.
No, he was flamboyant at FSU. He was.
Well, what I mean by that is he probably wasn't interviewed, 6 times a day.
Yeah, probably not back then. But when he was, they were electric. They were pretty good.
They were funny.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, anyway, you guys know it's an old man take. The same thing with the Tennessee quarterback. In my mind, some people are feeling sorry for him. I am not. I'm sorry. Well, anybody who's going to make that kind of money and they mouth off and they don't handle things right, then it's on them.
Doug, have a great weekend.
See you, Doug.
I'm going to stand up for the recruiting website people.
In what way?
And Mike Schaefer will join us coming up after 9.
Oh, we like him.
Every year, first round of the draft.
Yeah.
Don't those people get a little...
They get run over, dude.
Recruiting rankings matter. If you look at this draft, and I know Cam Ward will be like, well, he didn't have any stars. Yeah. Okay, look at the rest of the first round draft. There's a lot of 4 stars. There's a couple of 5 stars in there. So if you are vehemently against recruiting rankings, just remember that when it comes to winning championships in college and being drafted high in the NFL, usually there's a correlation. but those people who there are some that I don't think watch tape and are influenced by who makes an offer.
Sure.
Then there are the real ones. Those are the real ones that deserve a pat on the back because all of their work 4 or 5 years earlier comes to fruition on a night like last night where you go, oh, that guy was a 4-star in high school. That guy was a 5-star in high school, that on and on and on. Recruiting rankings do matter, and they're just backed up, I think, every Thursday night of the NFL draft.
It's a great point, too. And also, like, during the playoffs, don't we get that, like, one off, like, tweet or off Instagram post where it's like, oh, look at all the 2 stars and 3 stars, or it's like whenever there's, like, a big, like, contract that's signed, it's like, look, he wasn't even ranked or anything like that. Look, we love to put those guys in the dirt, but you're absolutely right. If you look through it year in and year out, I mean, the guys who are getting ranked at the top are the top athletes for a reason.
We will discuss more about the draft because there's other things about the draft, about big guys wearing vertical stripes.
Who's wearing? See, this is the different. Like, you do a great job of paying attention to what people are wearing and their outfits and whatnot. Like, I don't pay. I have no idea who you're talking about.
See, I'm
and
like that.
and what is the problem with the big guys wearing vertical stripes? What if a guy just likes a vertical stripe? What if it's his look?
Wow.
What if he's confident in it?
I'll have you look at Will Campbell's suit last night, and then we'll discuss on the other end.
Sounds good.
Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. I did not hear this last night at the NFL draft. Didn't hear some old school Van Halen. But I think we were, 20 to 30 minutes in, and they'd already played Sweet Caroline and Take Me Home Country Roads. I was waiting to see if YMCA would be next.
They were playing some bangers. They were playing some bangers.
And they had some lady who was just screaming.
She was, I don't know who the artists were during the draft. A big fan. I mean, I think that they need to like get their name out there, get on Twitter, be like, "Hey, this is who we are." Because I listened to them, like it was in the back. Like
I couldn't hear what what's his name was saying on NFL Network because I was like, "Would you stop the damn screaming so NFL I can hear how Network my team's going to screw up?"
As much attention to the stage when Goodell and the Picks were not out there.
Okay,
so they had a host and singing.
You could hear it. There were moments where you could hear like the house band going and like the entertainment and whatnot.
Steve Miller band.
And Jimmy, I think at points like it was like they were kind of bored of talking. They were talking so much that they kind of just did the sights and sounds and like did the pan over.
I was kind of bored of the 5-minute commercials.
You could they were like dancing and people were enjoying themselves. Like I was very impressed. I thought about it. I was like, this makes a ton of sense because it would be really awkward if there was just silence in between every single pick and you were just sitting there in the cold being like, I wonder who Tampa Bay is going to take, where it's like you don't give a damn about the Buccaneers. So it was like they kind of turned it into a party, which I think was like very, very smart. Here's my question though. Like, I didn't see any concession stands or porta potties or anything like that. Like
everybody.
Like it was
This is not like Times Square on New Year's Eve.
I'm just saying there was a lot of people in a big area, and the whole time I was thinking, if I left
germs.
Well, they don't. So judging off of Kansas City, Kansas City, the porta potties were probably closer to the masses of people.
Yeah.
But like all the food trucks and stuff are way away from. I mean, the NFL doesn't want that.
I know, but I was just saying. I was
but
just
they are
thinking.
Available. They are
I was
available.
thinking in my head.
They did
because this is how I think. I was like, look, if I was all the way on the far left,
diabetics rejoice,
and everything was on the far right, and I left to go and get a beer, or I left to go to the bathroom, or because I got hungry. How the hell would I then come back and find my people? You know what I'm saying? And
it's
then
like Coachella.
Like my biggest fear would be it being in that crowd and then having my phone die. And like then having no ability to contact anybody or no signal. Like,
are you one of those whose phone is at 17%?
Okay, I am the worst, Jimmy. Yeah, I am so much so my mom bought me a portable charger.
Of course she did.
And she was like, you need this. You need to have this. And then now my portable charger is never charged. So then it can't do its job.
Of course it is. This is so from what you're saying, because you would go even with all of those possibilities of.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the NFL has a grip on us. Yes. They did two things last night, that we are so enthralled and engaged in an event that looks like part of it is being held at the Mrs. B's showroom.
See, that's what I said too. I was like, wait, I feel like we should be looking at couches. You should know that room, Matt.
Next week,
I know that room really well.
Next week, you look. Some of that furniture you saw in Green Bay is going to be at your favorite Lowe's, discounted. Now, the other thing is, and this was uncomfortable, the NFL has such a grip on us that they can, in the middle of the first round of the draft, talk for 5 minutes and promote that on May 14th there's going to be a schedule release.
You don't even get a game out of it.
Like I thought they would give
a nugget.
I think last year they gave a game.
Didn't they give Philly Green Bay?
I think they did last year.
Yeah, and then they
didn't even give a game, and there was this buildup for 5 minutes that it could have been done easier just sending all the NFL fans an email. They did 5 minutes, and it was like, hey, May 14th.
That's like meetings in the corporate world.
Pick that was in between?
Well, it's BS because that was the lead-in to the Bears and the Mongo tribute.
Yes.
The NFL, that was just total BS.
And then I do want to say this, and this might be the only time I've ever done this. I do want to credit the Green Bay Packer fans because Goodell stepped up to the microphone and
I'm sorry, and my headphones cut out. What'd you say?
I want to credit the Green Bay Packer fans because Goodell stepped up to the microphone and rightfully so immediately they started booing, okay? Because they knew who was going to pick. But then, like almost immediately, Goodell starts talking about Mongo and it got really, really quiet. And I just want to throw out respect to them that we didn't hear any jerks or anything like that still booing or trying to louden out the incredible, the very, very nice tribute that Goodell had. And then even more credit to them, Walter Payton actually got a pop in Green Bay, which was I was like, oh my God, there's like I can hear the cheers. So credit to them for being respectful to two legends who we no longer have, the Chicago Bears. So shout out to them. Kudos to them. I still can't stand your guts. And Saban had, by the way, Saban's awesome. Okay. Saban was, I know you weren't watching it. Saban was awesome on the desk. He did an incredible job. Like there would be guys who got drafted and be like, that's another guy we couldn't recruit, or there's another guy we missed out on. And then at one point he was talking about how the Packers don't like the Bears. And Saban goes, does anyone in this division like each other, like anybody? Like, did any of them like each other? It was good.
What did Clay Matthews say?
Clay who? I don't know who you're. Travis Matthews or
love me some Bruce Matthews growing
Clay?
Up. Hell of a lineman.
I'm sorry. Is that someone I should know?
Clay's dad also awesome.
Ed says
family's good.
Ed says Bears suck. That's he said what Clay said. I don't know if he caught that.
I don't know who Clay is.
If he caught that last night or not?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
There's
is he a fan?
Clay Matthews?
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah,
he got up on stage, had a mic. Said the Bears suck. Is that true?
I mean,
correct. He does not like the Bears.
I don't know who Clay is, but did Clay watch the last time the Bears and the Packers play? Did he watch? Because as far as I'm concerned, Packers haven't beaten the Bears in 2025. Actually, the Bears have more win in 2025 than the Packers do.
I love that rivalry. Also, last night, maybe we are healing around here with our local college football team. I did not see as many cut-ups that included Nebraska players going against the guy that had just got drafted. But the NFL Network went back to Mason Graham's first year when Nebraska played up in Ann Arbor, and they had a cut-up of Mason Graham doing work. Ironically, that offensive lineman is still at Nebraska. But
I saw two. And it was the same clip. It was the cross country route of Shadur, like in Colorado against Nebraska, where the guy in Boulder when he whipped all the way around and he threw that ball. I saw that clip. I was like, oh, there it is. You knew that was coming.
Yeah.
That's a stock video.
Here is Eric. Eric, good morning.
E-Rock.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, first before we get started, hey, Gary, I think Simmons was a great pick. I think if he wouldn't have popped his patella, I think he would have been top 10.
Yeah,
but
we're in lockstep and very happy both of us today.
Hey, let's do a little exercise here, though. I always think about this, especially the past what do you say, like 14 years for the Huskers.
Prince Amukamara, 2011.
Great.
So let's do a little exercise and let's take out QB1 from this exercise. Is there anybody on this roster that you guys would project in the next year to 3 to 4 years going first round?
McGahee.
So I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of leaning towards McGahee type or Shavers or somebody, but I'm kind of curious who you guys think.
Yeah, I'm Eric.
Thanks for the call.
Lockstep with you. Willis McGahee the fourth, 4-star prospect. Has the build, has the body, has the speed. I think we were talking with Brian Christopherson about how he was a guy who maybe didn't rack up the stats last year, but it seemed like, especially towards the back half of the season, he was involved in a lot of plays where you saw him pop up, where he had the hurries, he had the really good rushes. Think definitely still needs to improve in other areas as opposed to just pass rushing, but I think he's got the build and the markup. And also too, when you're looking at the draft, right, it's all about premium positions. Playing, that edge spot, that linebacker spot where you can kind of do both. You can be a versatile defender. That's the type of premium position that's going to get you drafted in the first round. So I think McGahee, he mentioned Shavers too. I think that'd be a guy on my list as well.
Vincent, for a first-round linebacker, maybe a little bit undersized.
Yeah. But Jalen Walker, 6'1" yesterday. I'm not saying that Vincent Shavers is going to be Jalen Walker. I know that there's a stark difference there, but I like to mention I hate the whole, like, I understand the measurables matter. I've never been the biggest. Some guys really, really lean on the measurables and the arm length and the wingspan and the height and everything like that. I understand that in some instances it matters. I don't lean on it as much as others.
So it pains me in this discussion because I'm in agreement with Eric and you that McGahee would be a possibility. got to find some men in the trenches. Because look at last night, how this, and this is how college football is won, is in the trenches. We had a big run on guys that are in the trenches.
Yeah.
We have 3 of the first 10 picks were linemen. I mean, look I just mentioned the division earlier. The AFC North realizes we got to have good defensive linemen. Yeah. Look at the quarterbacks you go against in that division. Look at some of the running backs you go against in that division. 100%. But the NFL, and the NFL and college football in a lot of ways mimic each other. And if you just pay close attention, the NFL last night told you that we win in the trenches.
Yeah.
We can have wide receivers, we can have linebackers, DBs, we can have a quarterback, running back here and there. But at the end of the day, it is won in the trenches. And look at Georgia, for example. Look at Ohio State. I mean, national champion.
I mean,
they had a wide receiver drafted again, but they had a guard, they had a tackle.
Yes.
Now they did have a defensive back that was drafted. But look at where Georgia's players that were drafted last night come from. That defensive side of the ball, and where do they play in the trenches?
It's not just yesterday, Gary. Look at where they've been in the first round the last couple of years. Linebacker with Nakobe Dean. Linebacker with Nolan Smith. Smith more of an edge rusher. You got Jalen Carter, who's a defensive tackle. Jordan Davis, who's a defensive tackle. Yesterday, you have Abdul Carter go in the top 10. He's an edge. Will Campbell, tackle. Mason Graham, tackle. Membu, tackle. Banks, tackle. Even in the 11th pick. Then look, 11, 12, 13. Edge, guard, defensive tackle.
Yep.
I mean, that's these top 15 picks. It's just like you gotta be solid up front and dominant up front. And we looked at the Kansas City Chiefs in the last 2 seasons, had lost what? 1 true game, if we're being honest, against Buffalo on the road. How did they get blown up against Philadelphia? Philadelphia dominated in the trenches. I know you were injured. I know you were hurt.
Oh, no. I'm not using that excuse. We got our ass kicked.
Yeah.
We got beat up.
And also, too.
But they went to fix that last night.
It's not just the trend. It's not just like, we got to be strong up front. Jahad Campbell, Jalen Walker. These are guys who can versatility. They can play linebacker. They can get on the edge. Like, this league has become all about getting to the passer. And, college football is all about being strong up front and also getting now as, more and more teams are throwing the ball. Like you said, they mimic each other. And so it's
26 of the 32 came from 2 conferences. So that's
the FCS.
Shouldn't surprise anybody because it has been the big 2, and there's going to be people knocking on your door to say, hey, can I come join? Whether they're out of the ACC. But here's the other thing that is a little bit scary. These are 2 great stats from last night from college to the NFL. Kirby Smart has lost 19 games at Georgia. Do you know how many first-round picks he has?
37.
28.
He has 20.
Damn.
So he has more first-round picks than losses at Georgia. Now here's another one.
Yeah.
How many games has Ryan Day lost at Ohio State?
17?
10.
Oh, is it 10? Oh,
and he lost just 10? But he has 14 first-round picks. Now, a step further of separation. Of the first-round picks last night, 70 and 10.
My bad.
Ryan Day, 70 and 46 and 5 in the Big Ten.
And he was on the hot seat.
66% of the picks last night in the first round come from 8 schools.
Wow. What? Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas,
Alabama.
Wow.
I mean, so there's not only separation between the Big Ten and the SEC, and if you're looking at like talent, hell, I mean, Big Ten needs to beat its chest more that they've won 2 straight national championships.
Absolutely,
they have closed the gap. Now that gap has been wide for a while, but they've started to close the gap. But the gap between the teams that recruit dudes, send dudes to the league, that gap hasn't been narrowed because of those 8 schools, and the ones that we just rattled off, those are a lot of the same ones that have been there for a while. The only, like Clemson has dropped out, but LSU has dropped out in this draft. LSU should have a good draft again next year. But I mean, it can be kind of scary if you're looking for a path to, all right, how do we get into that tier 1?
Well,
that tier 1 might be closed. It might be like the Moose.
Look,
It might be like John Candy.
It all funnels.
Who says the park is closed?
Hey, by the way, the ACC had 2 guys go in the first round. The FCS had 1 guy go in the first round. So the FCS is 1 first-round pick away from tying the ACC. That is ridiculous, and which is exactly why we got to get rid of these. If you win your conference, you get an automatic first-round bye because this is indicative of that. But this all just funnels back to, I understand stories are great in college football, hometown kids and guys building up and 3 stars who get developed and hey, we're gonna take this dude that may be overlooked and we're gonna make him into a star and he's gonna get. You win drafts with dudes. You win titles with dudes. You win college football games with just 4 and 5-star guys with top talent. Period. End of story. These guys who got drafted, they are the tallest, they are the longest, they're the most athletic. That is the separator between tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3. It's like, yes, it's still played in between the lines. It's still a game. They put their pants on the same way we do. But if you're going to be at that upper echelon of college football, you got to get the top guys, period. End of story. That has never changed. And every time when this draft happens, we are reminded of that because of who these guys were, what their measurables were, and the teams they play for.
Buckeye Ross sends me a tweet from 24/7 Sports Rankings of the draft last night. There were 2 guys that did not have stars. One of them had his night hijacked. There were 4 3-stars.
We barely talked about him.
15.
We barely talked about
it. It's on brand for the Tennessee Titans. 11 5-stars, 15 4-stars, and 4 3-stars. Zach writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally, and old man Doug has already checked in this morning. He said he thinks that Clay Matthews said the Bears still suck. Not the Bears suck, but still suck.
So they already were sucking.
Once again, guys,
I got
keep telling me this Clay Matthews guy said this. I don't know who he is.
Who is drafting, when they bring out former players that announce like the either today or tomorrow,
like
picks,
the Drew Pearson moment.
Who is drafting for the Bears? Because if they do not lean into this, then that is failure. And you guys already have like 3 losses.
I saw it 2 weeks ago.
Caleb Henney?
No, not you. This is you keep bringing up Caleb Haney. Okay, Caleb Haney played 1 game for us, and then
I remember
later like the next season, Cutler got hurt. And we tried playing him, and he stunk. He was awful. All right,
but if I go to his Wikipedia page, it has him in a Bears uniform. So
because he didn't land anywhere else after.
Could we see Cade McNown?
No,
Jim Miller,
guys. We have our quarterback.
Jim Miller
Let's
took him to the playoffs.
Talking about the other guys. We got our dude. All right,
guys, they're great guys. Steve Walsh was a good
Chris
guy.
writes in the Equitable Bank inbox. Can you remind the audience how many losses Husker coaches have had since the first round pick? Lots.
Too many.
I hate math.
So many.
Could have Ty Robinson off the board today. 70 picks.
I think he goes in the third round.
66th overall, the Kansas City Chiefs. There you go.
No. Sorry.
Why? Sorry.
I don't think that's going to be the. I don't think that's going to.
Once again, you call me the negative one of the show.
Hey,
actually very positive.
I'm happy with my pick. Are you happy, Jimmy, with your guard?
I preferred a skill player, but I'm not going to complain about a lineman because, come on, you can't win without a dominant offensive line, and I like this lineman.
So I think he ends up going.
I think it was maybe in a little bit of a reach.
I will
say though that with your guy, hey, and they gotta find a wide receiver for Dak.
Oh, they gotta find a lot of things.
But give credit to the guy. When his name was called, I thought he was on The Price is Right.
Yeah.
The way he sprinted out of the Mrs. B showroom to the stage.
So wait.
He won a couch.
You call him Mrs. B show.
It looks just like it. My wife and I said the same thing. We're going to go buy a couch this weekend because of that room.
That's exactly the setup at Mrs. B's.
I know because I've been there a lot.
Except for like the bedding.
Well,
And the other stuff, like when you walk into your left, all that little frilly
Yeah.
stuff
Well,
that you
they-
just throw on a table
Live,
to make
laugh,
it look
love.
nice.
I was trying to look at all the way in the back. They had like the for sale pieces of couches, like
Yeah.
the connecting pieces that
ones that
were
are
part of
hanging
the-
on the.
Yeah. They were connected to the like it was a 4-parter, but it was just one part out. And it's like if you can get over the fact that there's like a lot of
Stains
that,
or-
that it actually is a pretty decent chair. Jaden Higgins is your guy, Jimmy. Jaden Higgins
Oh, yeah.
out of the Iowa State wide receiver, 6'4".
Cyclones.
Iowa State could have 5 guys drafted
How
this year.
about that?
Well, they're going to have They're going to have 2 wide receivers drafted probably in the second round with Jalen Noel, who's a slot guy. Higgins, though, so Dallas 31st last year in red zone efficiency. Jaden,
They were
Higgins
that
would be-
high? Damn.
Yeah, they were that bad. So
No, I
Jaden
didn't know they
Higgins
were that good.
would
Thought
be
they were worse.
very, very good for you for the red zone. So
Put it to you
I
this
love-
way, Gary. One of my good friends, diehard Chiefs fan, texted me and was upset because he wanted him. I said, "Well, then that must be good. If Brett Veach wanted him at some point, then I'm all I needed to hear."
I think he'll go 89. Ty Robinson will go 89 to the Houston Texans. I'm really nervous, though, because Green Bay sits at 87, and they need a defensive tackle. And I really, really hope that Ty Robinson isn't a Green Bay Packer.
Because then Clay Matthews will remind everybody again that
Or Ty Robinson
No,
will say
because
it.
I automatically have to not like Ty Robinson. I automatically just
Wow.
immediately, instinctively, just will no longer like root for him or hope he does well or anything like that. Like he
Damn.
was, I don't want to call him like dead to me, but it'll be a really difficult situation for me to deal with. And so
Jesus,
I
it
hope.
just got dark.
Well, I'm just saying, I hope he doesn't get drafted to the Packers. I hope he goes to the Houston Texans, which would be
I
a
get
really
it
good
now,
fit
Gary.
for him.
I'm sorry.
A really good fit for him if he went to the Texans, or if he went to the Chiefs.
Clint wonders who will go first, Ty Robinson or Sanders. Is he talking about Shadur or Shiloh? Who Shiloh said
Or
he's going to be
Reggie.
selective. Yeah, so is the NFL.
Did you see
Okay.
that tweet? He's like he goes, yeah, I'm a bit picky, and then the quote tweet was, my buddy who has 0 game at the bar.
There's a weird dynamic at Colorado that played out yesterday as well that we'll get into when we come back. Also, Pat Stewart, the new general manager of Nebraska football. Fascinating conversation. I hope they make him available more to speak publicly because he's got a interesting backstory, but he has a good grip on where we're going.
Yeah.
He said something about games are decided in a 5-play stretch yesterday, which I went, huh?
Football guy.
That's a football guy.
Smart. IQ.
And by the way,
Awareness.
he looks like a run the damn ball general manager. He doesn't look like I'm wearing a suit on a daily basis. He looks like a guy who could put in a fatty and go to work.
He looks like a New England Patriot. Like, you know, like how
He
the
does.
Patriots, like every year we just found out about like a ghost dude who like actually does incredible things behind the scenes. He
Yeah.
fits that mold just in terms of look
Yeah.
perfectly.
Is he the Turk or is he the executor or is he your friend? If you'd like some cha-ching.
I hope he's Ernie.
All right, we're back with more. Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone. All right, another rough night of weather in the area. Some major hail throughout the area. Tornado over in Council Bluffs. And you know, if you were stuck in it or your house, your siding, your gutters, your roof, they all took a beating. Well, you're one place to go today, Moose Roofing. Omaha Roofing Company. Pat Moose and his group, the MVPs of roofing in Omaha, they're not a business that is on wheels. They actually have a storefront. They are here before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm, and they will help you as you assess some damage as you wake up this morning and you're like, where do I turn? Turn to Moose Roofing. Their entire crew that is out in the field working for you, they will consult with you. They will understand your issues. They will get on your roof. They will check your siding. They will check your gutters. And they will be real with you, and then they go to work when you get the clear from the insurance company, which they also will help you work with. I've even seen Pat pick up the phone, and he talks to the insurance company, says, not today, my friend. You are not going to disrespect Sharon and her insurance from Bennington. She's been a long-time customer of yours. That's what they do. They are customer first, and they do a top-notch job. From Southwest Iowa all the way to Lincoln, Moose Roofing is there for you. To schedule an inspection today, give them a call, 402-763-4851, or go online for more information at mooseroofing.com. Hey, good morning. Taco Bell has chicken nuggets again.
No.
Welcome
No.
on National Telephone Day. It's Gary and Matt.
Is this a new, so you've been
Brought to you
doing this?
by Matt Coatney.
Okay, you've been doing this for the last couple of days, and I was going to ask, if this is a new,
No, it's Matt Coatney's thing.
sponsorship?
We
is
learned
this
from
a
him.
segment that
We are sponsored by Matt Coatney. You betcha! Mixed Sportsbook.
I love Matt Coatney. Matt Coatney's the best.
Last time you were in a home that had still a rotary phone or had a landline.
When was the last time I was in Chicago? My abuela still has a.
Yeah.
My grandmother still has a rotary phone. She's had it on the same counter. It's a little pink rotary phone. She's had it ever since I've
always pink or beige.
Could know.
That's what I remember.
And it's just been there, and she refuses to move it or do anything with it. I see it all the time.
I think it was the first Bush administration for me. I think it was 89 in some old person's house.
My dad still has a landline.
My parents still have a landline. It never gets used.
I think we have one.
No one ever calls it. I never think to call it. The last time I called it was I was coming home from a night out, and I got locked out of the house, and everyone was asleep, and I didn't want to sleep in the garage, and so I called the landline to wake everybody up at 2:00 in the morning.
Did they sleep through it?
No, they woke up, and
funny.
they weren't very happy about it.
Deion Sanders may start going after Charles McDonald and Nate Tice from Yahoo Sports. He went after Orlovsky yesterday because they have listed their best available players, and Shadur is 9th. Will Johnson, Mike Green. A little surprised the edge from Marshall did not get drafted. That's a good pickup today.
Yeah.
But Shadur is 9th. This is, I've said this all morning. The NFL doesn't pay attention to the last name. The NFL pays attention to what makes good NFL quarterbacks, what makes fits with certain teams, and what they see, what they hear, because they know more than we do.
Yes, they do.
There are no legal issues. So they have been telling you that he is a quarterback that is a late first round or early second round. That's exactly what's going to happen. And Shadur Sanders is going to be fine.
Yes.
Okay. He may end up in Cleveland, and it's actually going to work out for him. So he's getting all of it, and it's been brought on. And I can't wait for the comeback tour. But isn't it an interesting dynamic at Colorado? Who it's not very often that 5 days prior you get your number retired, and then you don't go in the first round. I don't know that that's ever happened. But here's a guy that every single day I read a story or see him. I don't like Jacksonville. I don't really have, we beat them in the playoffs the last time. I can't get enough of Travis Hunter. So not only a great player,
great
guy, and you know this. I've told you this. I like people that like their job, and they let you know that they like their job.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Rule likes being the football coach in Nebraska. We like doing this show. Okay, we like what the ability of what we do to entertain people and brighten them daily. I love Travis Hunter because Travis Hunter loves life and he loves ball. And I don't know that guy ever has a bad day because every time you see him, he's super happy. So before he came out to get, when he got drafted and he gave the awkward hug to Goodell that everybody does.
Well, Malachi Starks had an all-time hug. Yeah. That was awesome.
He came out, I guess, before the coverage started and was dancing on stage. He heard a song. So you know how long the runway was to the Mrs. B's showroom?
Yeah.
So Travis Hunter came running out and just surprised everybody and was on stage dancing.
That's awesome.
The kid has fun. The kid, he knows that this is a job.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? He is a kid playing a grown man's sport, and I can't get enough of Travis Hunter. And also, he's got to be the happiest guy because there is no state income tax in Jacksonville. So those 8 games that you play, or 7 now that they play 1 game over in Europe or 2, you are not going to let Cleveland destroy you. Jacksonville might.
Yeah.
Cleveland to Jacksonville. I'm 2 guys who are synonymous with Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
People's opinion has to be so far apart between the quarterback and the defensive back wide receiver because I love Travis Hunter.
Happy people
I'm
make
here
it
to
happy.
say it today. I love Travis Hunter.
So Matt Rule's talked about this before, where it's like he wants to build a program and where NFL teams know that they can draft his players and his players are going to be professionals. And I think you see that pattern happen over the last couple of years, and especially in this draft, because you have teams that just go, screw it, we're gonna get a Michigan guy. Screw it, we're gonna go and draft a guy from Georgia.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't go wrong with drafting a guy from Alabama. You can't. And those programs, because of the winning that they've done in college football and the talent that they've thrown to the NFL, when your team drafts a guy from that college, you immediately just go, oh, cool, happy. Like you're happy that they're there. Colorado is the opposite of that, okay? And Travis Hunter is proof that how good you have to be and how good you have to play and how wonderful of a human being you have to seem in order to escape that and in order to be worth not only just being picked second overall, but being traded up to be picked second overall, to give up a lot of draft capital. So Travis...
Yeah, now Jacksonville made a bold statement.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had to go get a star.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland kind of fleeced them, but it could be a win-win for both sides.
I think both sides, because Jacksonville gets a superstar. Jacksonville gets the closest thing we have in football to a Shohei Ohtani type player, right? Who immediately is just going to captivate you because the closest thing. I didn't call him Shohei. He's not Shohei. He's the closest thing, okay? I know, I'm just saying. He's the closest thing we got, and he's a superstar. And Jacksonville needs that. And hey, Shad Khan knows they got to sell tickets, they got to sell jerseys, and he's immediately going to make that team better. And Trevor Lawrence now has an awesome wide receiver to pass to.
I think Trevor Lawrence is overrated.
I agree, but he's got more weapons now, and he's got an offensive head coach that has been brought there to quote unquote fix him. So
they need a quarterback that doesn't look like he is from Jacksonville.
They need a quarterback that
has lived
scared.
Making tours of Waffle House in southern Georgia.
He's he just plays scared. When I watch Trevor Lawrence play, he just plays very like meh. Like I'm not threatened. When my team is playing Joe Burrow or I'm rooting against Joe Burrow, I'm afraid of Joe Burrow. And when they pan the camera to him and you see that look in his eye, you're like, oh no. You don't get that way with Trevor Lawrence. But now they've given him some weapons here. I mean, they've given him an opportunity to, hey, here's by far, bar none, the best wide receiver in this draft. Go and be the guy that we think you can be.
And didn't they immediately designate him as wide receiver?
Yes.
Well, Goodell announced him as wide receiver.
Yeah,
right?
but the title had wide receiver / corner because I mean they're trying to push the whole dual thing, whatever.
I think he can make more of an impact at wide receiver. Now he'll play some defensive back, but wide receiver, if you're an elite defensive back, you can get ignored. At wide receiver, you really can't ignore somebody if they are that good. You people like last year, and I know it always dates back to the Bears, but last year people were figuring out who Jalen Johnson was. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, this guy in Chicago." I'm like, "What do you mean? This guy's been a top dude for 2 years." Where if you're just trying, once again, it's the cons, so they're all about the money and they're all about the publicity and like building a brand. They'll play him at wide receiver because wide receiver jerseys sell way better than cornerback jerseys. We maybe have brought this up, and Travis Hunter is an outlier. To be able to play both of those positions and play them well is in the day of when we eventually get to a constricted roster. If we see more programs that are willing to give players an opportunity to play both ways. I know no one will be able to play the amount of snaps that Travis Hunter did. I'm not going to say no one, but it would be a rarity. But if you have a player that could maybe do both for you. I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. Because what if you were the number 2 wide receiver, but the number 4 cornerback, then it opens up a spot for, that's why you have a GM. Yes. Clint said he looks like he eats a lot of runs. I don't know if that's fair. We just met Pat Stewart. That's not. That sounds delicious. I don't know. Pat Stewart looked like a Midwestern GM. Some people just have a little bit more weight in the neck area. And I just think Pat Stewart might be one of those guys. Okay. People are just a little big bone. He's not Explain wide. That to me again. Some people just have a little bit more, skin and fat in the neck. I'm one of those people. Pat Stewart, one of those people. It's fine.
It happens.
I thoroughly enjoyed his
Did
breakdown.
you say you're one of those people?
I have a little, yeah, like compared to the rest of my body, I got a little bit more like on the gullet than I probably should.
Well, you lose weight and you look like a turkey. So there was a lot that he said yesterday. And again, I was very fascinated because Nebraska's paying him a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And how do we hold him accountable? Like if things...
So that's what I keep thinking.
So he dropped a little bit. Rule says that's the money guy.
Yeah.
He's the one that does the retention, the rewarding. I just coach. So like when we go, oh, Rule, do we go, wait a minute, Pat?
Yeah. So,
but think about what he has to, like, if you're trying to suck up.
Okay.
Because, we do that.
Sure.
Some of us do. Who do you suck up to most? The guy that controls the purse strings or the guy that controls the playing time? Now, I know you could say, well, they go hand in hand. But what is the dynamic? Like if the head coach likes you, does he pass along to the GM when you go into contract negotiations? Yeah. Hey, give this guy a little bump. But I think his role in the NFL will work out because you know this, and we're seeing this. Guys want to renegotiate mid-contract.
Yes.
Their playing time has either increased or decreased, and so they want a little bit more scratch. And does the GM have a heart, or does the GM play, you know what? We're limited, and a deal is a deal. Take it or leave it. And the player says, leave it. And your coach goes, whoa, I sent you up to his office, up to your office.
Yeah.
Now the guy is in compliance telling me he's in the portal, and we thought he was going to be a backup offensive lineman. Where we're going here.
Yeah.
So that's why this whole new thing in college football, and especially at Nebraska, where they tried it in Mike Riley's, was it Mike Riley's last year? Yeah, Billy Devaney, who came from the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska actually about 10 years ago tried this, but the head coach wasn't on board, and he wasn't the guy that said, hey, let's do this. It was kind of like the AD said, hey, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Arizona State tried it when Herm Edwards was there.
Yes. Great point.
I think this is going to work at Nebraska.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Matt Rule kept saying one thing over and over when he made this hire. He kept going, Pat's a smart guy. Pat's a smart guy. When he stepped up that podium, and after the 17 minutes of talking, I go, you know what? He wasn't lying. Yeah.
You were looking at your watch?
No, I wasn't there. I watched the YouTube video.
He discussed this with me after the show.
You got to cut the commercials.
Yeah. No, I have premium.
Of course you do.
Wow.
He is a smart guy.
God for that McSportsbook.
Mm-hmm.
He is Pat Stewart is a smart guy, but it was so interesting. Like almost every question, it was like, well, it's a changing landscape. Well, we don't really know here. Well, in the NFL, we had these things that we could do. We can't do them here. And so it was a lot of like, okay, I think his job is just, I'm going to watch this guy. You're going to tell me what I think. We'll look at who we paid in the past. This is the number we have. So if you want more money, to answer your question, you go to Pat Stewart. Like you become friends with Pat Stewart. If you want to play more, you become friends with Matt Rule.
Does Rule, like a supermarket sweep?
Yeah.
Great show.
That they tried to bring back, but the OG was the greatest. So Rule is the guy that speeds through the supermarket and he puts everything in the cart.
Yes.
And then when you get rid of the cart so that they can check the items, is that Pat Stewart as the cashier?
No, I think Pat Stewart.
Rule puts the players in the shopping cart,
right? Pushes them through the store,
and then pushes them through the store.
Which kids love
because he's like, okay, Dana, wide receiver aisle, let's go.
No.
And he runs out. He's like, hey, Dane, Dane's on the up top.
Can we?
And then he knocks
and here's
it into
Dana
the cart.
reaching for that defensive
tackle.
tackle.
He knocks it into the cart, and they're like, we need a tackle.
We need a lineman.
But look out, hey, Matt wants a lineman.
Here's the southern wing of the store. Eli. And then he goes up to the checkout. And then as he pushes the players, and they're all sprawled in the cart, and they're tucked in there, and they're like, oh, them fat offensive linemen. Oh, you are on top of Andrew Marshall. Get off of him.
He needs to return punts.
He pushes it up to the checkout, and there's Pat Stewart. And he starts peeling the players off the cart, and he goes, That's $1 million tackle. Boop.
Okay.
Is that how this is going to
No,
work?
I think it's a different
Okay.
TLC
You see that on
show.
Guys Grocery Games
I
too,
think it's
where
a
they do the
different.
limit?
I think it's a different TLC show. It's Extreme Couponers, right? Matt goes through the store. He grabs all the groceries.
Brother,
he's
brother,
going.
hold on,
he's
brother.
going,
Hold
he's
on,
going
hold
up
on,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
doesn't-
looking-
hold on.
he's
He doesn't
looking-
know
Hold
supermarket
on,
sweep.
brother. Nebraska ain't cheap.
No,
They may
no.
sometimes look like they're cheap. Daddy Warbucks is like,
No, I'm not calling him.
he's
I'm not,
hiding in the closet in
I'm-
Lincoln.
I'm
They
not-
just need to let him out.
I'm not calling him cheap. It's just like you look at the book and you're like, do we have can we get it? Can we get this? Can we get this? You know what I'm saying? Like he's going through like, oh, can we afford it? Can we do this? Like, can we pay for this guy? Because like, okay, so he's coming from the
You're
NFL.
saying they also
and you
buy
know, like
premium.
mid contract negotiations, right? Like what Pat Stewart would do in the NFL is, hey, we're gonna make your salary a signing bonus. Hey, we're gonna defer this money. Hey, we're going to actually, you'll have this deal, but we're gonna incentives so we can pay you less up front, but you'll make more money on the back if you perform. He can't do any of that. Like he cannot, as of right now, he cannot be creative or at least I don't know. I don't think he can be creative in that regard. And so that's why I say I don't really know. Like I don't really know. But like I like him and I think he's smart and I think it'll work out.
So the renegotiation thing is real. And it's happened a couple of times at Nebraska. And it happened before Pat Stewart got there, and nobody is familiar with how it works. You know, a player like, hey, we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
So I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, and there's essentially a salary cap of what football will have of the $20.5 million pie. How comfortable will colleges be that your quarterback starts at 20% of that pool? So that's where the NFL comes into play. You know, I've always advocated for, I think there should be a separate quarterback salary cap in the NFL. It should not be lumped into everything. I think it would help. But you don't have that. So, you know, your quarterback, there's a line out there of Mahomes is the only quarterback that's won a Super Bowl where 18% of his salary takes up the salary cap.
Yeah.
You're essentially looking in college. I think you start at your quarterback takes 20% of your salary cap, which is $2.6 million. Where do you go from that? So in that role where you've probably dealt with that before, or you've been at least an assistant GM, so you've seen the negotiations. Those are like, that's an important role of how much are we going to delegate to a certain position, a certain player, and make sure that all of your money isn't tied up into 17 to 20 guys, because you probably have to sprinkle that over 50 to 55, 60.
Look at where the guy was coming from, because
are you saying that Charlotte was cheap?
No, I'm saying that
because I would.
I'm saying that Pat Stewart, right, coming from New England, they were never paying Tom Brady 18 to 20% of what the Patriots were making, and they did exactly that. How many different just dudes were the Patriots paying 8 to 10 million who weren't necessarily superstars but high impact players? And you're looking at, and they're playing so well, and you're like, wait, they got this guy and they got this guy. Like everybody executes. Like that's how that roster was built. Yeah. That's where he came up, and that's exactly like Patriots never really tied up money into one guy. They found value where people weren't finding value.
Would Dylan take a hometown discount to help out?
Okay, so here's the pitch.
I say that a little bit tongue in cheek. Maybe, I don't know, but you know that they're not in the business, or at least this is what they are giving off of when this gets rolling, of moving money around.
Hey, here's the pitch. You want to be Tom Brady? That I mean, it's worked before.
No, you're fair. That's
like that's worked before. Like, look at the Bruins. Like the Bruins have, like, I know it's a different sport. I know it's hockey, but they've been able to make great rosters because they convince people, hey, taking less money is better for you. Like Pat can be like, look at Tom. Look at what Tom did.
All right, quick break. We'll come back. If your quarterback is the highest paid player on the roster, who should be the second highest paid player?
Edge rusher.
Is he at Nebraska for the 25 season?
No.
Might be a couple of offensive lineman that might fit that bill.
Probably.
Also, today is the final day for players to submit paperwork to enter the college football transfer portal before the 25 season. What happens in Lincoln with the unknown of will I get to stay or will I get to only stay for a couple of years? We'll find out. We'll have more on the Husker games of who we want to see, the intrigue. Mike Schaefer, Matt Verzal, still to come on the final edition of Gary and Matt for the week on 1620 The Zone.
Underdog just became one of the best places to make picks during the NBA playoffs, and you can get involved with their extender promo. You can start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boost. This does not apply to Oklahoma City and Memphis. That will be over very soon. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. Their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. To play, all you have to do is download the app, choose whether a player will go higher or lower. What are their stats? For example, John Morant took him to go lower last night. Lo and behold, he went lower. And so did the Grizzlies season. All right. Once they feel good and you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Yeah, you can play with as little as $1. So this week on Underdog and this weekend, it's all about the NBA playoffs because, well, I was wrong on the games last night, but that doesn't matter. I'm not picking winners. I'm just picking who does stuff. Still shocked that Denver didn't even show up for Game 3. I would think they'd show up in Game 4. Maybe I should look into that, Joker. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code ZONE. Seriously, they lost 117 to 83. They didn't even show up for the game. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, day 2 of the NFL SummerSlam coming up tonight in Green Bay.
You know what? Like your intros and your teases are really good. Sometimes I'm just like baffled by the randomness of it.
Isn't the Super Bowl WrestleMania and the draft is SummerSlam?
What are the big 4 like NFL events? Like I would say Super Wild Card Weekend is Survivor Series.
Hell in a Cell.
Survivor Series or Hell in a Cell. I prefer Hell in a Cell, but Survivor Series is considered the big 4. And then AFC Championship, NFC Championship week, Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Climb the ladder, get the contract, get the trophy to give yourself the right to cash it in to go and win the title.
And a viral moment, if you've not seen Calvin Banks, the offensive lineman from Texas, I believe it is his child, puked, threw up on live TV last night.
There were some really interesting family celebrations yesterday.
There were. I don't think the Wags had a very big night. They didn't make any faux pas.
Jackson Dart's mother has a great workout routine. I mean, she's got her biceps were popping.
Just leave it at that. Leave it at that. And why do all SEC linemen look like they're 35 years old?
Well, there probably are.
And their father is bigger than they are.
It's crazy. Genetics.
SEC, but not so fast. The Big Ten is back, baby. We're back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Mike Schaefer coming up in an hour.
I don't care that this is kind of like a meme. This will be a bop forever.
No, this is defense is getting ready
Third
to come
down.
out. We're rocking back and forth.
It's 3rd and 8.
I've got the look of Vincent Shavers yesterday at the podium was surveying the room of like, do I need to take out that guy from 96 Kicks?
This is way better than stand
kid,
up
man.
and shout.
I hope he takes that next major
Me
step.
too.
He's got a personality. That was, another guy who and I'm glad you asked the question of Rule the other day. It's like all the questions I said, hey, I'd like, it's getting towards the end of spring. I'd like to hear about Raiola. I'd like to hear about Barney. And this has been my week.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I literally asked that question just because you said that. And I'm like,
Coach,
yeah,
McMaster.
Hey,
My radio partner who you have
I don't stutter. all
Bears
right? I
didn't
don't
take
mind.
Tyler Warren.
All right, wait, let's time out here because a lot of people
Coach,
A
'cause
20 or a
look,
full?
I'm
Coach,
gonna,
that quarterback.
I'm
Tell me about the quarterback.
okay. I'm
Do
not
the Eric
from New York,
Spoelstra
guys.
and
Let me tell you something. I know I have a unique voice. I know that there are people here who have tried to imitate the voice.
Shout out Skokie.
I just want to run a couple guidelines here. Right? I don't mind the high pitch. Okay. What I do mind is the stuttering. Okay. Because I used to have a stutter. And I tried my and I worked through it. I went to speech class for 5 years. I still have a lisp, okay, on the S's, but I pride myself in the fact that I worked through my stutter. So no stutters.
So he says,
"Oh man,
Detroit ballers."
Isn't it great to hear Mason in a playoff game again? I see people missed a banger of a playoff game. Well, at least that one.
Oh,
That was good.
I was watching
Detroit.
OKC Memphis the entire time. Damn
Well.
shame they didn't cover.
Oh, again, mixed sports.
Hey, we got a big board today. Come on now.
No, the mixed sports book is like about ready to go bankrupt.
No, well,
No-
after yesterday.
No big board. But yesterday, Dylan Raiola spoke.
He
It's a different vibe.
he was
He's
impressive.
you can tell he's a year older.
He was
Better hair.
impressive.
Hey,
Like
I mean, I don't want to go all in on a press conference, but he's a year older. I like that.
he seemed like
him
a
and-
he seemed
him
like a
and-
leader. He seemed
him
seemed
and-
like he was
Him and Rule are on the same page
That's a
because
good
they
sign.
are speaking the same language. But the fact that he highlighted guys that were leading. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know that he was involved in the Marty Brown conversations yesterday. Marty Brown probably got part of you or some of you last night before you went to bed, got you fully husked.
yeah,
at the wrong time. Marty.
11:34.
Yeah,
Why are we
Marty.
tweeting
Marty.
that late, Marty?
Kids stay up late.
Marty.
And it-
Marty, you gotta your
Marty!
your timing's gotta be a little bit
The
better.
flux capacitor, Marty.
I'm talking about Brown. You can talk about McFly.
Doc Brown.
So he was in Lincoln yesterday, and he was taken to
They went out to eat.
breakfast. Yes,
Mhm.
with the head coach,
You recognize the
the
place?
OC, and the running back coach.
Coach. You need a
So
barber.
we sit and wait. The fact that he was in Lincoln shortly after he got back from Miami is a good thing for Nebraska. But what I was told from one side, and this is more of a general, this is how those negotiations, I'm going to say negotiations, or those meetings work.
Yeah.
Is so Nebraska's approach has been this. They sell you the vision.
Okay.
So they paint the picture of your development role
Yep.
and also what your long-term value is.
Mhm.
And they can hit that a little bit more because Marty Brown has 3 years.
Yeah.
Then I think this is where Rule in these situations is good because they do sell relationships over resources,
Mhm.
where they either a high school kid or a portal guy, they try and build trust, which, you have to, there's probably part of Miami's pitch is, Nebraska ignored you when you were in high school.
Sure.
Why would we be recruiting you in high school? We're in Miami, but now we want you.
Yeah.
And Rule has to fight that a little bit. And, without saying, Marty, I wasn't even here.
Yeah.
He can't go back and go, you know what? If I was here, we would have recruited you when you were a senior at prep. So They try and build trust right away.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. So I asked this question of somebody that is kind of familiar with the portal approach. Is they do the platform over the payment. And I said, what does that mean?
Okay.
And they told me that schools that, if you know a kid is there just for the bag, that discussion is one-sided.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But if you have a bag, but you also have value and you want that person to be part of your program,
yeah,
they said platform over payment. And I said, what does that mean? And they said, you highlight the exposure you're going to get of playing here. Now, I do know this because Watson Trent brought this up.
Okay.
The value of playing in the Big Ten. You have not heard that a lot from Nebraska recruits. Like, man, I can go play in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Nebraska
would you pitch that? Yeah. Because I feel like the SEC has pushed that,
okay,
right?
But think about it. The Big Ten has now won back-to-back national championships.
Yes.
So the value of playing in the Big Ten, Watson Trent brought that up. He could have stayed close to Georgia Southern.
Sure.
Played the SEC.
Yeah.
But he said to play in the Big Ten. When he said that a couple of weeks ago when he spoke, I was like, I don't think I've heard a portal guy or a recruit mention that.
Sure.
But
good point.
They highlight the exposure, the style of play, and then what your path to the pros is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even Rocco Spindler, when we interviewed him on a podcast,
yeah,
he said it's not like in your face. It's a very, this is who we are. This is what we can do. This is where we see you. Now what's next?
Yeah.
And just a little bit knowing Marty is I think that resonates more than the flash and dash and the bright lights. And he's going to get paid and he deserves to get paid. But I think of the just normal approach of let's get to know each other, relationship. And this is where we see you. And you know what? This is our pitch. And I think, from what I understand is, and I asked somebody yesterday afternoon who, got a little bit of an intel, and they said, you know what, it was vibe is good, but
sure.
you never know. You never know in these situations. So we'll see. But I like the think about the platform over payment.
I like that. I like that too, but it is something, and you said pitch, right? You said pitch. 2 years ago, Matt Rule was at a presser, and this is when he was going through. I mean, I think he had already done the initial 2023 recruiting process, but this was the first time he was actually getting his feet in the ground, and he was establishing, hey, we are this because 2023 was very much a hey, we need to get guys, we need to get players.
Yep.
He was putting his feet in the ground, and someone brought, well, what's your pitch? And this always stuck with me. He goes, we don't pitch. There's no pitch here, right? We're not pitching at guys. What we're doing is we're just telling them, hey, this is our culture. This is how we're going to play.
Yep.
This is what we believe in. If you want to be a part of that, great. Awesome. If you don't, hey, good luck. They don't say, hey, you're not for us, right? But they essentially say, hey, you're not for us. And I think that is a very, that's what top programs do, in my opinion. Because you kind of play the game of you want to, I don't want to, it's a little bit like dating, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you love bomb them or you're all over them or you're always texting them or you're
never heard that phrase. What is that phrase?
Love
bombing?
You never heard of love bombing? Where it's like, you're like, oh my God, you're great. Like you're always complimenting them. Like you're overbearing on them. Like you're like.
Is that your approach like the first date?
No,
I thought you were saying it's like a bird bomb.
That's just something that happens, or it's like you're calling them all the time.
You strike me as a guy on the first date that would say, "I love you."
No, oh my God, no, the opposite.
What's your ring size?
Please, Mama wants grandkids.
No, God, no, I do not, dude.
Maybe that should be your approach.
Should that be on my Tinder?
Is your name
Mama
Myrtle?
Wants grandkids?
Are you fertile?
Strikes me as a town that
Jimmy.
A lot of women want to have kids.
What? Fertile Myrtle? It's not a bad thing. Some people would like that.
But
it didn't strike me as somebody that would date a Myrtle.
I don't strike you. That's who
that's
true.
Who do
I strike you as to
Myrtle
type
McMaster?
What name would I date? What do I strike you as?
Lexus.
Hell no.
You said that well, though. I like that.
Let me get the name that just started following me on Twitter.
It's not Miss Sprinkles again, is it? She's a big fan of the show.
Miss Lexa.
Anna Monica at 82097, who is looking for a serious relationship man.
I'm not a serious
Not just to hit it and
man.
quit it. She wants the long haul.
Jeez, how did this, guys? We were talking about Marty Brown and recruiting and pitches.
They want a long relationship with each other. 3 years.
And getting running backs into a much needed room, and now we're talking about hit it and quit it.
Getting dates in a much needed room for you.
I'm not in that conversation. I'm trying to get Anna Monica's Twitter to load here.
I had someone follow.
Is it slow again? It was acting up earlier. Not hers. I was looking up something else on the Twitter.
So we sit and wait. Wouldn't that be on brand for Nebraska in the offseason and the spring portal? Is the two positions they get is a running back and a punter?
That would be funny, considering the fact that they already got a punter in the portal before. That would be really, really funny if they got a running back and a punter. But I think they approach recruiting well. I think it's a good approach. I like the platform over. What is it? Platform over payment?
Yes, she's a cop.
Oh, nice.
Like an actual cop.
Thank you for your service.
Some handcuffs in her pictures.
Hey, make sure you have the key. Trust me.
She's a cop that is with a dog.
Nice. You like dogs?
She is not followed by anyone
really.
You're following. She follows 1,152 people.
And she's being followed by how many?
42. Let's see if one of them is Nebraska Ball Mike.
Or anybody else we know.
Oh, my God. Coach. Wow.
Hey, Coach Rule.
Hey, Coach Rule. I saw you were following this person on Twitter.
No. Hey, that's what you have to be careful with. There are so many sleuths out there. Look at, I'll give you an example. Let's continue to use Marty as an example. I got to bring up his Twitter here.
I'm so sad. We don't get to see Shannon Sharp talk about Shadur Sanders today.
No, trust me. Everyone else is. That's all they're going to
He was on his show last night. So his tweet with the head coach, the OC, and the running back coach has already gotten 51,000 views.
Jeez.
That fills up some stadiums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oregon. Packed house.
Lot of current players are following him.
Oh,
yep.
Friends.
Yep.
Do you play that game? I hate that game. That might be my least favorite game in sports.
So Parker Gabriel, who used to work at the Journal-Star, now covers the Broncos for the Denver Post.
Friend of the show.
So we both went through some coaching searches around here, and he had a trick on how you can find out who has started following. Because, it's a little bit jumbled.
Yeah.
He said there's a trick that they used to get the followers in
chronological
order. Yeah, chronological order.
Okay.
Yeah, that made it a lot easier.
Sure.
So then they were able to start to piece things together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Journalism.
But here's I'm playing detective here. There's a lot of times the head coach will not start following a prospect until it's almost a done deal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Now, I was about to say before you said that very important piece of information, this is my least favorite game in all of sports. Okay. The amount of times we've endured he unfollowed the team. He blocked the team. He deleted his pictures. He's no longer following this guy.
People do that at work.
Then nothing ended up happening, or an extension ended up happening. It's all fugazi. It's a whizzy. It's a woozy. It's fairy dust. It doesn't exist.
The name would be Marty, by the way. All right, Mike Schaefer is coming up at the top of the hour.
What do you mean?
I can see you dating a Marty.
No.
Why?
My mom's name is Marty.
You like your mom, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like a great lady. I'm a fan.
Just think you'd never get it confused.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Hey.
Matt and Marty?
I'm a no.
Stop.
This fall on ABC.
Jimmy,
I'm a no.
Stop.
All right, when we come back, Pat McAfee did something last night that nobody else could do. And watch. So I did watch McAfee.
I didn't. I don't pay. No.
Peter Schrager, I think, will be on main ESPN in next year's NFL draft. He's such a great addition.
Really?
It was a big loss for the NFL Network.
He was on McAfee last night, along with your former head coach, who was offered a weed vape pen on air.
Ooh.
Fluce was on McAfee?
No. Jimmy's.
Oh.
Yeah.
McCarthy?
Jason
Yeah.
Garrett?
Yeah. Mike McCarthy was on there last
What the
night,
hell was Mike Okay, whatever.
but he was offered a weed pen.
Did he take it?
Hopefully.
No, but then
his loss.
McAfee did.
Well,
Oh.
of course.
Yes.
Did you see Cena call him out? He goes, "You're always high when you announce."
Well, that and that rough week for McAfee. That and Paul Heyman calling him out.
Paul Heyman's awesome.
By the way, Jason Whitlock was probably right about Unk.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Did you see what Joy Taylor said on her latest podcast?
Yes, I did.
She enjoys
Okay.
things.
All right. This segment's come to an end. We're back with more Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Just looking at the Storm Chasers stats because Jack Caglione played right field last night in Double-A. Prepare accordingly, Royals fans. MJ Melendez is 2 for 13.
Oh, no.
That good?
With the Storm Chasers
But he's
after being sent down.
He's shortened his swing. Gary, his hands are higher. He's not like Rizzo anymore.
At least the big club has won 4 in a row. Swept the doubleheader from Colorado, who is now
shout out Rockies.
4-20.
4-20. Yeah, light it up.
They're the Reds are minus 140 tonight. Be a good bet. Just saying. I mean, it's really good odds. I mean,
are we saying?
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing. Hey, I just throw things out there. I just say random stuff. You know, that definitely isn't like a calculated thing that I planned this morning.
Yeah.
4-20. They've only lost 3 in a row, so the streak I think will probably extend.
See what he's doing, Jimmy?
Yep.
Because we've retired the mixed sportsbook big board.
What do you mean you retired it? Why did we retire it?
Because it's struggling.
How is it struggling? We went 4-1 last week on the big board.
Yeah, but the one you were the most passionate about, like you lost some of our listeners' money.
Well, actually, I got a text from some people who were like in the media who said, "Hey, I have friends who ask me if I know you because they're tailing your picks." We cashed, man. We did great. Justin Thomas won the RBC Heritage Open.
He did. So the big board will be on the pick.
It'll be on Take 5 today. Not Take 5. Take 5. Not Pick 5.
Pick 5. Yes, you can win up to $50,000.
It'll be. Hey,
what
guys,
was your pick yesterday?
They all lost.
It was your NFL draft. Okay.
They all lost. They all failed.
Golden
It's
sombrero.
tough.
It is. Trust me, I know. I'm not having
bet.
a good week either.
And like a lot of the high odds picks like ended up coming through. It was rough. You know, you can't bet the NFL draft in Iowa either. I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
It completely screwed me up.
Some Iowa thing. Just blame Iowa.
You can punt there.
You can punt there.
So we're saying going to the break. McAfee yesterday with his group, there are chances that he can take that nobody else can. That thing was unhinged. It was entertaining.
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch 1 second of it. And if there was a clip on Twitter, I didn't pay attention to it.
Was this on one of their other channels?
It's not that I don't like them,
ESPN,
but like I just need to save McAfee for special occasions. You know, like
last night was a special occasion.
Oh.
Like it was at an event.
I like the simulcast. I like it when they're at a game and like they're like and they're talking over the game. Like during like I during the CFP, I listened to the main broadcast first quarter. I would put on McAfee for the second, then I would go back to the main broadcast in the second half. It was great.
Skycam's the way to go there.
I like the Skycam, and you get to see
Love the bands.
Yeah, no, you get a better view of the game as well. What did he say? What did he do?
Nothing. I just keep laughing. Now I've seen the somebody in the crowd had the shot of McAfee reaches down, he grabs the vape and pops it, and then after taking a hit, he tried to offer it to Mike McCarthy. And he was like, nah, that's not going to happen.
Should have taken it last year.
Do people, when it comes to watching draft coverage.
I'm watching it now.
He can take chances that nobody else can. Do you prefer the college people breaking down the draft or the NFL people?
That's a good question.
Because game day, as you were mentioning,
yes,
Saban and everybody is saying, kind of repeating what you said, backing up what you said.
He was awesome.
About Saban was great. Do you prefer the college announcers talking about future NFL guys or the NFL guys? Because a guy who has now he works for an NFL team, but David Shaw would be on the NFL Network, and I thought he was really good because he could balance from the college perspective and the NFL perspective. That's why I really like Charles Davis. Charles Davis, even though he has been primarily the NFL of late, still has a strong college background, and he's somebody that can balance. And so then they sneak in Joe Klatt, who, by the way, Joe Klatt, I believe, is the last Colorado quarterback to win a bowl game.
Wow, great stat.
He is also somebody that can kind of balance, but he knows more about the college.
So first off, I was going to say out of
really
the two broadcasts that I watched, I thought Charles Davis was the best out of the 8 or 9, 10 different broadcasters that I saw.
He's always good as well.
Hey, it's going to be great when he is back doing college and it's the Big Ten, the 2:30 CBS game.
He is super smart, but he's also entertaining. Like he's a pro's pro and he's collared,
You wanna
but
be
he's
his
also
friend.
like he laughs. He's laughable. I
He
can
has fun at
relate to him.
work.
Like he's not over the top. I love Charles Davis. Here's my perfect, because I've thought about this before. Perfect NFL panel. You need a host, right? You just need like a solid host who doesn't talk a lot about.
Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen is
Yep.
perfect. Then you
20
need
and 10 every night.
4 people. Okay. Give me 4 people. Give me 2 college and give me 2 NFL. All right. And then what I want though is I don't want all 4 chiming in at once. I want to partner them up. So I want they take, Joel will take this pick and then he'll talk to Mina Kimes and they'll combine, right? And then Saban will talk here and then we'll have a guy like
Charles
Field
Davis.
Yates or like a Daniel Jeremiah or like a
Peter Schrager.
Peter Schrager, like a main and so I don't want like Charles Davis is a nice mix, but I want the opposite ends. I want a full college guy and a full NFL person, and let's mesh them. Because I think you need both. I need the hey, I saw him play.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I saw him at this game do this, and he was incredible. But I also want the here are his combine numbers. Here's why he's going to work with this team. Here's this coach's system. This is why it's going to fit. What I want more than anything, though, is this is why it's not going to work. This is why this is a bad pick. This is why maybe they reached here. I didn't get any of that other than Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart got buried last night.
He had 4.5 sacks in 3 years at Texas A&M.
They did him so dirty with he would pop and then he would disappear for 3 quarters. That's an actual line that was said. Here's what they did. They made a graphic and they had Myles Garrett's like tangibles, like his stats, and then they had Shamar Stewart's stats or his like weight and height and wingspan, his measurables. They're like, look, they're the same person, but Shamar sucks.
So I'm trying to find the question here because this was circulating around the internet. So Molly McGrath interviewed Stewart.
I don't know the woman at ESPN in the red dress who was doing the interviews all night with the families. I didn't catch her name.
Was it
her full
Laura
name?
Rutledge?
Susie Colbert?
Was she Laura Rutledge was one of the schedule.
It was another. It wasn't Laura. I don't think it was Laura.
Gail Gardner.
So Molly McGrath was doing a lot of the interviews.
Yeah. Might have been.
So she asked this. So every prospect is excited, and so she's interviewing Stewart from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And her comment is Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow's jobs just got harder in the AFC North. Now, maybe she was referring to like what's going to happen in practice, and Stewart's going to make it rough on Burrow when they're going 11 on 11 or
that they're just
7-on-7.
a year older, and so a little tougher.
That's a tough one. That is. I'm trying to find. I don't know if it was Molly McGrath or not. Anyway, I thought they did a great job.
Or Mark.
Now, it was great with the Tet McMillan pick. So on ESPN, it was a Klatt and I don't know who was Saban, but it was Klatt and it was I forget who else. I think it might have been Riddick, who kind of went into a diatribe about how overbearing parents can be and how Tet McMillan's parents didn't seem that way. They didn't seem like they are the overbearing type and that they are like, they're good people and, in this day and age, good people, you need that for these types of prospects or whatever. And then I think it might have been Shamar Stewart's dad, but he was talking about we. He's like, we are going to go in there and we are going to do it. And we're going to make a big impact on the NFL. Like we, or it might've been, I don't know if it was, I think it was Shamar's dad. It was like, we. And I'm like, oh, that's what Klatt was talking about. That's the one that was successful. It was incredible. It was not my son, my baby boy. It was we are gonna go in there. We are gonna prove. Like, are you suiting up?
Andy says he goes, have you guys discussed how the draft started last night? From the bicycles, did not have Roger Goodell being on a bicycle to begin the draft on my bingo card, or let alone Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne's everywhere now.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem
with Lil Wayne?
Yeah.
No, he was great as a Packer.
Neither do I. I'm cool with it.
was a great show at Baxter Arena a couple years ago.
Great third down receiver for Brett Favre.
Louis
Great
Riddick
seats for that show.
spent a lot of time talking about Roger Goodell's back.
I love that Roger Goodell has leaned into being a heel. I don't know if are you pro or con of booing a commissioner.
You boo commissioner no matter what.
It's tradition.
The fact that Roger Goodell has
Rob
leaned into it and is making a lot of people a lot of money, but the hugs are a little bit awkward.
They're like you and Happer's hugs.
He had a full 30-second to minute combo with Malachi Starks, like ear to ear, like
because you're like, man, you are going to a team and look at that defensive back room in Baltimore.
He was like,
hey, good, you're gonna have some fun.
He was like, hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear. That's what he was like.
Whoa. Are we back to the dating thing again?
No, that was a song. It's part of a rap song.
So it's Closer by 9 Inch Nails. They have a message too in that song.
That's also, it's in a rap song, but it's also not Black Crows. Yeah, it might be. I'll go back and look at it.
It's Wait. That's the song. Wait. By the Yin Yang Twins. Just wanted to culture people.
No, you're absolutely right. When I think of twins, I think of the
Yin
Yangs and the Cavenders.
And the Olsons.
No.
He's got no friends. No one showed up to his birthday, Sonny. Not one of his teammates.
So on that note, I have not played along with all of the Shadur slander.
Sure.
Were there any teammates at his party?
No. He was standing by his dad and Gilla the Kid the entire night. Gilly, my bad. But I thought it was Gilla the Kid. Whatever you want to say.
Somebody on the stream did correct.
Let's just go. No, I didn't need to correct him. Let's just call him Gilly.
Gilly.
I wouldn't know the
guy
difference.
with the big hat.
Yeah, Gilly.
He spent a lot of time with the big hat. I just want to know if the big hat guy is going to be back today.
Him and his cousin Walla. They got $1 million worth of game. All right. So every time they cut to him, it was Shadur, Dion, and Gilly. Okay. Now, can I be honest with you? I wouldn't really
Shiloh
know.
was there.
I hope. I wouldn't really know.
He's still broken?
If his I didn't see a lot of guys who looked like they were his teammates. Like I don't know what Jimmy Horn
isn't that
looks
odd?
like, but it didn't look like a lot of the team was there or anything like that.
They look like guys that do not play football in Colorado.
That's what they looked like. None of them looked like they were.
Is that not? So the party was in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It looked. I don't know.
Was Texas.
I really don't know.
NFL Network.
But wouldn't you have you don't think a couple of teammates would be like, man, I just want to be there for you?
Free food.
But how many? But I think okay.
We are tough for him to go to Green Bay and go, hey, Travis, can I sit on the couch with you?
Here's the thing. I do want to say this. I don't know how many teammates show up. How many of James Pierce's teammates were there? How many of other prospects' teammates were there? I don't know if that's the most fair assessment. But yesterday, Shadur Sanders found out that you don't take draft combine meetings for granted. Okay, you don't walk into a meeting and go, "Oh, I know I'm going to get picked by this team. I don't give a damn."
It helped. Yes. Look at Jackson Dart.
Exactly.
Jackson Dart took everything. He competed. Now, if you go inside of Jackson Dart's numbers, they're pretty impressive at Ole Miss. But then you look at where most of those numbers came from. Those teams weren't playing in the playoff.
No,
they weren't playing. Most of them.
Oh my God, he played great against Florida.
Yeah. But I think taking the meetings, going to the Senior Bowl, going to the combine, throwing on your pro day, I think that weighed a little bit.
And also too, what Shadur fails to understand is that these teams, yes, they are separate from each other, but they all talk to one another. You still have friends on other teams. And so even if a team is they had a meeting with you and your meeting went great, but they found out that you were awful in another team meeting and that their buddies are telling them, hey, he was this, that affects your draft stock, despite the fact that you might have had a great meeting with this team. But all that to say, it was just a failure from the draft process from Shadur. And he found out yesterday, hey, you F around and you find out. And yesterday, he found out.
One of the rare Colorado fans that has left after Shadur and Travis have left, works here, named Josh.
Hi, Josh.
He said that his lineman, Jordan Seaton, was there.
Okay.
And he said a couple of other players were there.
Good.
They might work on that strength and conditioning because there were some guys that didn't look like they played football at Colorado.
I love.
By the way,
Were they tiny?
Hammer that under in Colorado's season.
Hey, draft day has now like prestiged to like an old movie that people like to quote on draft day, and it's become really, really funny with how creative people can get with all the different tweets, and I absolutely loved it. No one understood, though, my Jacksonville Jaguars tweet yesterday, though. Nobody got it. Nobody understood that line. It was all set up, by the way.
Bookmarked it.
Jacksonville had a top pick, had a rookie GM who the Bears could have traded up to get a star running back. Like literally the clip of draft day was right there. Every year somebody comes out looking like a donkey.
Because what is the line in draft day? They have that kid GM in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And isn't Jacksonville's GM the youngest?
Yes,
yeah,
by
so
far.
You were right.
Oh, it's literally picture
Yes.
perfect. Like you could have traded with a young rookie GM to get your running back. It was there. But he made the trade. He's the one who came. He made people look like donkeys last night. Good for him. But I thought it would have been that line though in draft day is so funny. Where it's like, who's got the 6th pick? Jacksonville. They got that kid working there. What's his name? Yeah, he's a rookie. And then they all like cut to each other. They look at each other like, oh, we're gonna fleece him. By the way, they traded 3 second-round picks for a first. That would never happen. That's terrible.
This is in the movie.
This is in the movie. Who the hell would trade? And then he asked for 4 second-round picks, and they were like, "You're crazy." And I'm like, "No, he's not. I would do 4 seconds for the 6th overall."
All right, we'll take a quick break and come back. No, I was looking for a tweet here. I cannot find that tweet.
I had a lot of them last night. I want to apologize to people following me on Twitter. I had way too many. I think I got up to 11.
You tweeted 11 times,
11 times.
Wow.
I became the insufferable person I don't like on Twitter.
I think you should be happy with your pick.
I am. Like I said.
Some dude on the NFL Network
telling
likes
Ben Johnson that this isn't a good offensive weapon is telling Picasso, hey, you missed a spot, okay? He knows way better than I do.
Ben Johnson to Picasso.
Follow up about the Goodell and Hugs and on a bike. That anthem was horrible.
You didn't like it?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I still don't know what I felt about it.
A little bit long.
It was like Bleeding Gums Murphy.
All right, Mike Schaefer, Matt Verzal still to come before we hand it over to the Connor Happer Show. We'll do that coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, Brian writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. He says, my favorite pick of last night was by the Seattle Seahawks, who chose North Dakota State offensive tackle or offensive guard, Gray Zabel. If you know the story, so did you see the interview with him?
I did not know. I was over on, with NFL Network?
So he'd done interviews before.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
They was it the NFL Network or somebody? ESPN may have done an interview with him.
Okay.
They asked him about what he's going to do to celebrate. He said probably going to start diving into Busch Lights. The emailer says, in the difference between the NFL Network and ESPN, I give credit to ESPN because when he was selected, they correctly pronounced his hometown.
What is his hometown?
The capital of South Dakota is what?
I don't know.
Pierre.
How do you pronounce it?
Oh, it's Pierre. It's Pierre.
Pierre.
It's Pierre.
It's Pierre?
Yes.
It's Pierre. Because I almost got a job there.
In Pierre, South Dakota?
Yeah, I was up for a job there.
Oh.
I was all over the Dakotas when it came to the job search. I was bouncing around town to town. Sioux Falls, Fargo, Pierre.
Cold.
Said ESPN correctly pronounced
Pierre.
His hometown of Pierre,
Actually didn't know
South
that.
Dakota.
All right.
I can't wait until we get someone drafted from Beatrice.
We did.
Yeah.
Oh, Cam,
they didn't say from Pickrell, Nebraska. They said from Beatrice.
Did they say it correctly though?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Unlike
I meant it as a joke.
Unlike who?
Norfolk.
Well, you got to be careful there.
Norfolk.
Norfolk.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
But I call it Norfolk because those people that live there don't know how to pronounce their own town.
We need a guy. We need a guy to get drafted from Ogallala.
It rolls off the tongue.
I don't know. I feel like
Ogallala.
if you look at it, the first time I've ever looked at it, I was like, I had to take a deep breath. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a big word. They got a couple of tall letters.
Exactly. There's a lot of L's.
And you didn't want to take an L. Yeah.
Yeah, coach.
But you're Eastern European guy with the names. You're perfect at pronouncing those.
We don't have any Eastern Europeans, unfortunately, being drafted in. But did you see Bushnevich had a hat trick last night?
Yeah, see, beautifully off the tongue.
Yeah, coach.
Okay. Real quick about hat tricks. I don't care what you think. I will never throw my hat onto the ice if there is a hat trick. I think it is the stupidest thing ever.
That's a good hat. You're never getting it back.
Exactly.
Mm.
Hats are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell would you throw it onto the ice to never see it again? Especially if you like that hat.
I've always thought that too, Matt. I'm with you.
I would never,
Since I was a kid,
and I would never ever be like, "Oh, I'm going to wear a bad hat tonight just in case Kaner has a hat trick." You know,
coach.
That's not how I talk,
coach. And the town there, you had there was before you were here. There was a guy named Brody Cleveland. He was a linebacker. How do you pronounce that name? That town that he was from? Hey, coach.
You did the thing where you go halfway into a word and then you bail out before you finish it, which is great. I mean, we have been on the air for a little bit now.
Coach, is it Oogie Lilila?
Stop.
I hear it's an Indian name.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long
much
question.
like Mile Walke.
And do you know what? If you did your Matt McMaster impression, more than likely you would get great question. Hey, I've gotten 3 this year.
Damn. That was slick.
Only guy in the media that keeps track of that.
I'm kidding. I've only gotten 2.
Oh, now we're lying.
We're
We're lying about rule of 3. Yeah.
My man over here is a meme in the local media.
How am I a meme?
Is he?
You're a meme.
How am I a meme?
Because you did a fist pump after Matt Rule acknowledged you.
No, I didn't.
And someone has video of you.
No
They turned you into a meme.
No way.
Yeah.
No. When?
Recently.
Like
when?
Like your normal fist pump or Frank Pulley calling a strike fist
It wasn't
pump?
like a Tiger Woods.
Okay.
When? When did he acknowledge me?
Was it the first time he spoke this spring?
What do you mean it acknowledged me?
Like they said, that's a good question. You know how people when they well, that's a good question.
Well, yes, I asked it.
Oh, now I'm going to go back and look. That's bad. I don't remember.
No,
fist
it's cool.
pumping.
It's
Yeah.
like embrace
It's
being a meme.
Bad, like
I don't,
bad is
I
good.
don't. I don't think me fist pumping is. I don't remember fist pumping.
Yes,
No, I did not do that. I did do that though when I made a 45-foot putt.
Herbal. I'm up 1-0.
Yes, Smitty. Yes, Smitty. You see
And
that, Smitty?
Elijah has to respond. Okay, what's a good question? What's a good question?
No, he's gonna come up with a snarky tweet.
You know, the more I think about it, that's a good question. And he points to you and goes, "Game tied." You young.
Is this your rivalry you were talking about?
No,
Radio
I do
okay.
not
No, I
have
mean,
Elijah and
I
I
do
are
a show with
very-
Elijah
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
Elijah
that's
and I have
true.
a very
tomorrow.
good
We live
relationship.
live 11-1 at the Single Barrel in
I
Lincoln.
fist pump.
Nice.
There's no way I fist pump. Now I do a lot of
Come on.
I do a lot of head nodding. You know,
I have no idea what you're saying, Coach, but you said it was a good question. After that, I just blanked out.
I did not fist pump.
I was
Hopefully everyone enjoyed it.
There was a lot of people who were thrown off when during my 9-hole men's league golf round that I did do a tiger-like fist pump when I made a putt. It was a good putt. It's a long one.
Not
Just
judging you
running
there.
uphill, left to right,
Sure,
started on
it's
a perfect
competitive. It's a
line.
league.
It is,
Yeah.
and I hit a bang.
You should be proud.
And they kind of looked at me like, "Whoa, like we're playing 9 holes, man. Like you're gonna shoot a 48. Like calm down."
That's you know what? Don't let them influence you.
Yeah. No, you celebrate that putt
Hey,
because there were people at the Masters
In the
who couldn't make
words of my
putts.
favorite head coach ever, be you.
Be you.
Hey, coach.
Hey, Coach. What was that phrase you used?
Stop.
Be you.
Yes. Yes. That's not what happened
All right, Mike.
at all, remotely.
Mike Schaefer is going to join us here in a little bit. We'll ask him.
Have you ever seen Matt McMaster fist pump after a good question?
Yeah, I see it daily on the show.
J-Man wants to know if it was like Gibby in the World Series, which is fair because now I just picture,
Just got out of his seat, walked around the interview room.
who the hell's this guy?
Who's the new
People are staring at him.
Is that Sip's son?
We do not look related.
And you do not look like. Yeah. We'll ask Shafe. Is the 2027 starting quarterback at Nebraska going to play tomorrow? We'll get into that when we come back. Shafe and Vers in the last hour on 1620 The Zone. They're saving this song for tonight at the NFL draft. We welcome in. I believe this was played at his wedding.
Has to be, right?
YMCA. We welcome in Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Good morning.
Good morning. We had an extensive do not play list that included things like the chicken dance, the Cupid shuffle.
Oh, come on.
What is it?
The electric slide?
Africa?
Yeah.
Shelby and I did not want a lot of the really stupid communal dancing stuff. But the YMCA was certainly one that was allowed and was played, as Gary noted. So
yes,
just wanted to clear that up. Also, before we get too far, Matt, how disgusting was it last night to have to listen to these people just heap praise on Packers fans for showing up outside of their neighborhood and walking to the big event down the street? My Lord.
Hey, did you hear what Clay Matthews said?
I don't know who that is.
Did you hear that, Shafe?
Did you get a haircut?
Yeah, no. He had a message from the president who wanted to, pass along to the Bears fans that they still suck.
That was nice of him.
Hey, Shafe, the 3-hour love fest, the 4-hour love fest of Green Bay was the worst part. Oh my God, these fans are great. Oh my God, look at the passion. Oh my God, look at this event. Oh my God, they drafted a wide receiver. I was so sick and tired. So sick and tired.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's like we forget every year that when this thing has gone on the road that the fans show up in droves. Like, they didn't completely show up in Kansas City and overfill their area to where you had people going to the World War I museum and sitting on the green to watch it from across the street. That they didn't completely fill Broadway when it was in the middle of a driving rainstorm. But because it's in Green Bay, the city that we've mytholized because they're fake owners. How's that stock doing with the tariffs, by the way? Has anyone checked in on that? We gotta talk about Green Bay and the Packers as if it's the most important thing in the world. And they drafted a wide receiver. Oh my!
It's such a
what
pamper
an amazing concept! I can't believe it.
Did you like your day one starter at left guard that you drafted last night?
I was happy with it. I was worried they were going to trade down to try to accumulate more picks because that tends to be what they do. And then I was worried that Quasey was going to take another safety like he did with Lewis Steen, who he cut last year in August. They've been a really bad drafting team since their regime change.
Mm-hmm.
But Donovan Jackson is an immediate starter at left guard, and they have a very good roster with a giant question at quarterback. Like, it is I know that people don't want to believe that the Vikings have a good roster, but they really do. They just have nobody at quarterback until J.J. McCarthy proves otherwise. Like, it's a unique situation for sure.
Yeah. Somehow yesterday made me hate Mark Murphy, which if you know, you know. It's a pretty hard thing to do. Hey, let's move to some football talk, Nebraska football talk in particular. Pat Stewart talked yesterday. What are your takeaways? I feel like there was a lot of, I don't know, this has to pan out, but just kind of what did you see and what do you think the future of this position is and how important it's going to be as we continue on this stretch of, college football evolving?
Yeah, I think that Pat Stewart is still very much finding his footing in what his role is going to be at Nebraska, how things are going to work with, where we are in terms of college football, because we don't have any answers as to what the actual rules are. We don't know if the rev share is going to go into effect. We don't know what the roster numbers are. I think it's a really tough time for anybody to stand up and answer questions about player procurement because we have no idea.
Yeah.
And it has to be frustrating. Like, these guys are tied to wins and losses and to being able to do their job, and they're playing a game where there's no rules right now. And yet again, we have the court system stepping in to offer an opinion on something that nobody really asked for. And we may not even have the rev share model, which, can you imagine how things are going to be just thrown into pandemonium if that entire deal falls apart here?
Yeah.
So as someone who's just tired about having to read or know any of what's going on with the House settlement or the rev share split or NIL stuff, I can imagine as Stewart standing up there talking, he can't give answers. I mean, because he doesn't know how this is going to play out. And so extrapolate that from, ignore us stupid media folks that are trying to figure things out. Imagine being a 2027 recruit coming in on Saturday to the Husker games and or 2026, Jordan Campbell, who's coming in as a Miami commit. Nebraska can't tell you what they would offer you in terms of a NIL deal because they don't know. And Matt Rule has said earlier this spring that he doesn't want to have to go back and take stuff away or to apologize or to say, that thing that we agreed upon, we can't honor our end of the deal. And so they're just sort of in this holding pattern before they can really move forward. And I think it's making things pretty tough, not just for Nebraska, but just around the country. Like it is a giant mess. You're going to have programs that are going to massively overpromise and then underdeliver, and other teams are going to be in position to take advantage of that. And you have Nebraska who's just trying to be as patient as possible while waiting for guidance that doesn't seem to be coming from anyone that's supposed to be providing. It's a tough time right now.
So one of those guys that was on campus that would probably get a nice little piece of the pie, Trey Taylor, quarterback in the class of 27, 4-star, multiple visits to Nebraska. He is, less than a week away from making his announcement. He wouldn't be able to sign for about 19 months. But was yesterday unexpected that he just popped into Lincoln?
It's unexpected in the sense that, he's already made a very public visit earlier in this process and had talked about how he had, wanted to see everything and had gotten his questions answered, and he was leaving Nebraska feeling very comfortable about what his options would be there and the people and everything. The cynical part of me, just based on conversations with people in my network about how this recruitment is going, is wondering if some of yesterday was, hey, this is the offer we have from another program. We really like you guys more, though. So, that's, I hate doing this, though, because I don't know that for sure, but I just know off of the conversations that I'm having, and I know that's how the game is played to a degree. And this is a guy that isn't signing for a long time. And so it was fascinating when he moved his decision up from June 6th, which was already pretty early for a 2027, to May 1. I really do believe him in the conversations I've had that he likes his staff. He likes Dana Holgerson and Matt Rule. He likes what Nebraska's about. He loves that the fan base really cares. I think he recognizes that, even if the front end of the NIL isn't amazing, that if you're good at a place like Nebraska, the money is going to be there. I think that's Nebraska's biggest pitch as they go through any of this right now.
So,
go ahead.
So tomorrow, sticking with quarterbacks and sticking with the 2027 season, let's just operate like Dylan has a good next 2 years and goes early into the NFL draft. Do you think that tomorrow we will see somebody who has a good shot to be the starting quarterback in 2027 at Nebraska?
Yeah, it's taken a long time this spring, but we have officially entered TJ Lateef hype week.
Okay.
He had a good good practice. He had a good practice on Tuesday from everything that I had heard. He's had a good spring. And, it's kind of fascinating, like where Nebraska football is at, because normally when you have a freshman quarterback that's been on campus, we would have been asking about him, wanting to hear more about him. It would have been more of a conversation or a talking point. But because you have Dylan Raiola, and the bigger sort of concern is, okay, who's his backup going to be? Mm-hmm. And no one was expecting a true freshman to be that guy. We haven't talked a lot about TJ Lateef, but he's done a really nice job. He, I think, has really impressed the coaching staff by how quickly he has come in and picked some things up and his command of where the team is. He's a better athlete than I think people understood or realized, unless they watched him out there in California. And he's number one for me, the guy I'm most excited about tomorrow, which is going to be a weird event. But it's an opportunity to put eyes on some of these freshmen in a way that I haven't been able to see. And I'm putting up a piece later today, and he's one of the 5 guys that I'm really excited to get eyes on, because everything I've heard has been pretty good. And so, not that tomorrow is going to matter a ton in terms of wins and losses and everything else, but it's going to be, it'll be interesting to see a guy like him or a Connor Booth if he's able to go, or a Grant Bricks, or, these are just some of the guys that we're going to see tomorrow that may not play major roles in 2025, but are going to be important for the future of this program.
Hey, we've talked about this before, about how important it is stacking talent and stacking positions in college football, and that it's not just about having a great player, but once that great player hopefully goes to the NFL draft, you have another guy in waiting, ready to go. But with rev share and essentially the salary cap and let's just play with the idea that NIL isn't as big of a factor in the future. When you're paying a quarterback a lot of money, I feel like it would be really difficult to then go and get a high school quarterback that's highly touted because you already have so much invested in that position. How much harder is stacking positions and stacking talent going to be in college football because of rev share upcoming?
Well, the good thing, I guess, at least with the quarterback position, is every team is only going to be able to start one. So everybody has that same issue.
Sure.
And so I think there will be a model that teams ultimately use. They're going to be able to slide in and be like, hey, this is what it looks like right now because we're bringing you in. You're not the starter, but this is what we are ultimately going to pay the guys who start for us in the future. And so I think quarterbacks, more than most positions, are going to have kind of a streamlined thing with that. Everyone else, it gets kind of unusual because then you have to make value judgments of where you want to place your resources. And this is why you bring in a guy like Pat Stewart, because you need to have real conversations about, all right, we don't want to overspend for an interior offensive lineman because in our value system, that's not as valuable as the left tackle. We want to make sure that we have the best defensive line that we can possibly put together with this pool of money. And we're going to probably borrow or go against, the second level, the linebacker level, because we know defensive line is more valuable to the sport of football than linebackers. And so it's the same thing you see in the NFL. It's the same thing you saw last night. Teams love defensive linemen. Right now in 2025, defensive line is paramount for every level of football that is being played. And we saw it in the NFL draft. We saw it in the college football playoffs. We saw it here at Nebraska when they went toe-to-toe with Ohio State. If your defensive line can be a wrecking ball, you can be in any game despite what talent limitations you have elsewhere. And so that is going to be a massive, massive factor. So how do you kind of put together your flow chart or your chart of who's getting what sort of money and what positions you're really invested in? And I think Nebraska is a great example of this. They have a ton of defensive backs, in part because you don't have to spend as much money for them. So you can cycle through and figure out which guys that you like and go from there. They have invested heavily at wide receiver because they have a quarterback that can get the ball, and that's where the game is going. And wide receivers are going to get paid a little bit more because of their value. Pass rushers are going to get paid because of their value. And so you're just sort of seeing the NFL model slide its way down to college football in terms of value and player procurement. And I think we're only going to see more of that. And that's why these guys are getting hired with NFL experience for these GM roles.
So he was, his answers yesterday were short, but he did comment on the current roster. He used the phrase, it's a pretty solid roster. You've mentioned many times how you feel about the talent here. Matt and I have talked about it. How much different do you think the roster is compared to when they walked off the field at the Pinstripe Bowl compared to the roster that will walk off the field tomorrow at the Husker games? How much of a difference do you think there is?
I think the biggest difference is the veteran loss on defense. I think they have the athletic people or the athletic talent or potential to replace guys like Ty Robinson and really talented college players like Nash Hutmaker and John Bullock that maybe aren't going to be big NFL guys, but are huge for you in college football. I think they have the talent to replace that. It's just that they don't have the reps. I mean, or in the case of a Watson Trent, I mean, he's coming from the Sun Belt, so how quickly can he turn it on? Or in the case of a Deshaun McCullough, is he going to be a good enough pass rusher that he can help replace some of the sacks that went out the door with James Williams and Jamari Butler, who could have returned this last year? So this upcoming year. So I think some of the questions that you have in front of you is, do they have the people that can develop? Are they the type of staff that can develop? And they want to be. And then how quickly can you replace some of what you lost? And then on the other end of it, guys that are here, is Emmett Johnson taking the next step? Is Dylan Raiola taking the next step? Is Ja'Cory Barney taking the next step? It all works in conjunction. I think the reason for optimism for 2025 is the offense should be a much, much better machine in terms of efficiency, in terms of scoring, in terms of the way that it can attack a team. But if you're hesitant at all, it's because there's a lot of question marks about defense. They lost a lot of key people, and a lot of reps went out the door, but there's still talent there. So I think it sort of cuts both ways. I definitely think that talent-wise, they are comparable, if not better, than where they were when they walked off the field for the bowl game. But the experience isn't quite there, so you're having to project more, and you're having to sort of talk yourself into things that haven't happened yet.
Gary and I had a great conversation about the draft in regard to the fact that a majority of the people drafted yesterday were 4- and 5-star recruits. Now, I don't think...
Your industry, by the way, deserves a lot of credit.
Yes.
People crap on your industry.
They were patting themselves on the back all day long. All day long.
Well, you should. I mean, the recruiting rankings matter, as you know.
Yeah. And
I'm not being glib with that. I'm just saying, like, if anyone's going to give themselves credit, it's the recruiting industry. We're certainly not, just sitting there humbly very often.
So, look, my question, it's a tough question, Mike. It is, but I do want to hear your outlook on it because I do think you'll give a hell of an answer to it. But I know realistically that Nebraska just really isn't set up in the part of the country where they're going to have a top 5 recruiting class every single season, right? But how does Nebraska, in your opinion, go from having, in the 20s to 22 to 25 recruiting classes like we've seen in the last couple of years to having a top 15 or, a 12 or maybe one year have a top 10? What do you think is holding them back from doing that, or what has been a barrier to that?
It's hard because we haven't seen this staff, and maybe they won't get there, but they haven't won at a high enough level where they can also get to go with that. They do a great job getting recruits in. I think if you were going to believe that there was a higher level for Nebraska recruiting to get to, it's because they do a really nice job in terms of bringing in a lot of players.
Yeah.
They're not having a spring game this year, but they're still getting a lot of 2027s and 28s and a fair amount of 26s that are coming in and seeing practice and spending time around the staff. And I think there's a real appreciation because what you see is what you get with Nebraska. I think that how they talk to recruits on the phone or through message is the same as what recruits are going to get when they're on campus. And I think there's an appreciation for that. I just don't know that they're going to get higher than 20th. I think there's a lot of factors that sort of limit them in that regard. I don't know that they're going to be a program that takes enough high school players that they're going to be able to get into the top 15 as it is anyway, because they're going to have to be a combination of the portal and high school recruiting. And maybe we have a conversation that can you have a top 15 player procurement, put in portal and high school players together. I think they absolutely can do that. Now, some of it too is these are guys that believe in their own evaluation, and these are guys that are looking for athletic traits over sometimes production, are going to take chances on people because they believe in it. I mean, think of how much conversation we've had about Quentin Ives. That was a guy that they got over Monmouth. And we don't know what he's going to be yet, but it's going to be an interesting sort of thing to find out this fall, because right now he's your number 2 running back. He's your complementary style to Emmett Johnson. Those are the type of players that, you're not going to see go in the first round of an NFL draft or even the second round of an NFL draft. But could they be really good college players? Absolutely. So they're doing multiple different things to give themselves the best chance to build the best team to win in the Big Ten. And then how it looks after that, they want to be an NFL development program. But I think where Nebraska is really going to be in that phase, it's not going to be so much on the high end. But I think if Matt Rule gets this rolling, Nebraska will have a ton of day 2 and day 3 guys. They're going to have good football players that maybe aren't the elite athletes, but are sound technically, have been coached well, love football, aren't going to hurt programs. If this goes off for Matt Rule and they have a ton of success, I don't know that they're going to be a top 15 recruiting program, but I do think they can develop a lot of NFL talent because of the experience they have, the coaches that they have, and the type of players that they're trying to bring in.
Hey, we'll get you out here on this, and you just wrote about it with the draft over the next 2 days, and this is where we should start to see the run of Nebraska guys. You wrote about Tommy Hill. I want to read you a tweet from Matt Miller at NFL Draft Scout. This is the morning after the Colorado game and the pick 6. Nebraska cornerback Tommy Hill sits at number 53 on my board. The buzz on him from scouts is that I'm a little low. Think he has late round one expectations.
Wow.
Later in the day, ESPN put out a mock draft, and Tommy Hill was in the first round. We know what happened to Tommy Hill a couple of weeks after the Colorado game when he got injured, was never the same. And he's been kind of a mystery through the lead up to the draft. What do you think happens with Tommy Hill?
Yeah, it's funny because I was writing a tweet that was very similar to the Matt Miller one for the story that I was going to push out right as you guys called. And it's hard to imagine. You go back to that moment where he picks off that pass and he puts Nebraska up by 2 scores in just the frenetic energy environment that was September 7th Memorial Stadium, Nebraska, Colorado. And then you fast forward to where we are right now. And there's at least I'd say a 50-50 chance that he doesn't even get taken by the end of Saturday. Like, it is wild how this process goes. And that's a guy that I believe in that talent. I really do. The plantar fasciitis crippled his ability to play in coverage. If you go look at that Illinois game in the first quarter and he's trying to cover Pat Bryant, who's a very good receiver for Illinois, he just couldn't. He couldn't run with them. And if you can't run as a corner, what are you supposed to be able to do? And so I think because of the nature of that injury, things got kind of weird with him in Nebraska. And I can't really expand upon that a whole lot more, but it wasn't great at the end. And then the fact he didn't work out in the combine, he didn't work out at pro day. People don't have a great idea of what his testing numbers are. It would just be entirely a bet on the upside of athleticism, which is absolutely there. He's the sort of guy that it might be worth taking a chance at the end of the 6th or in the 7th round because you want to control having the option to see him first rather than trying to be the first one to call him if he goes undrafted. And as Thor Nystrom, the analyst that I've talked to for a lot of these that I've been writing about, he pointed this out, and it's true too. I mean, the thing with Tommy Hill is you try him as a corner. If it doesn't work, then you try him as a safety. You don't always have that with NFL draft picks. And he's a guy that can play special teams for you as either a returner or in your coverage unit. But he can make himself really valuable. But ultimately, just like it always has come down to, Tommy has to want to do that. And so I think if he's going to maximize his chances in the league, he has to adopt the attitude that he is willing to do anything and everything for the team that gives him that first opportunity. If he does that, on balance, he is, if healthy, he is certainly worth whatever a team is going to pay or use draft capital on.
Yep.
But if he doesn't have that attitude, it's just not going to go well.
Yeah, definitely a mystery man. Shafe, as always, appreciate the knowledge. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
Mike Schaefer, Tommy Hill, mystery machine. There was a lot of love after that Colorado game.
There's a ton of love.
By the time you got to the end of September, there was a butting of heads of love.
That's
remember, he was encouraged to go prepare for the draft instead of hanging around with Nebraska to finish out the season.
Tommy has to want to do that. I mean, that's a quote right there. I mean, that's a sentence. That's something that sticks with you.
All right, Matt Verzal, very, very sticky. He will join us, when he's back in the kitchen. He will join us next on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, we welcome in Mr. Verzal. Good Friday morning.
Morning, boys.
How you doing?
I am doing all right. How are you guys?
Good.
Great.
Let me ask you a question here. Arm length. This became a discussion last night with all the offensive linemen that were being drafted. The arm length discussion, yay or nay, if you being a offensive lineman, when you hear analysts that are not offensive linemen dive into it.
It's oh man, they just take a very simple game and try to boil it down to all these weird little factors. You can either play or you can't. Now, are there benefits for guys, longevity, and are there things you got to overcome? For sure. But the teams that are really good, like, just go draft football players. And then if he plays guard, he plays guard. If he plays center, he plays center. If he plays tackle, he plays tackle. But they're gonna put him where his best chance of success is, and regardless of the inch or two shorter his arms are than everyone else.
Now, there was a discussion, and Jeff Schwartz got into this discussion as well last night, being a former NFL lineman. He did say it is a discussion if you're only going to talk about how they use their arms to punch. He goes, if you want to go there, he goes, then I can get into a conversation with you. But he is along the lines of what you just said.
I would rather, the only thing you really need to watch is feet. Like, can you move your feet? If you move your feet and you get in the right spot, then you can. And listen, you've dealt with him arms your whole life. He's got ways around it. He knows what he's doing. He's got the attitude to go with it too, which is probably what most don't possess.
The big story that everyone's going to be talking about, and I have to ask you about it, is Shadur Sanders and dropping in the second round. And I have to ask you, Matt, because I do think it's something that you could have insight into. Do you think him falling out of the first round has more to do with Colorado being a circus, or the fact that there are actual problems within his game?
I mean, this is $1 billion industry. And they will miss a whole bunch. So there's something in there that they don't like. Was really surprised the Steelers didn't pull the trigger, because that was what everybody thought was going to happen. Because they really, I guess if you want to start with Mason Rudolph for your year, good luck. But I think Shadur is better than Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
If that helps you.
Yep.
But I don't think the circus or anything that happened at Colorado. I think it's probably more something in the way he plays that currently no NFL team likes.
I was saying this earlier. I mean, there's such a gap between the media and the fans, not necessarily the players, but if you've been in the game, you know of how the NFL looks at a player compared to how we do. Because the NFL has been telling us that Shadur is a late first round, early second round guy. But he was mocked at some point, number one to the Giants, or the Giants had the number one pick, even to Tennessee, or third, or he'd be fifth, or he'd
ninth,
or he'd be ninth. It is. You said it. It's a $1 billion industry that they look at it differently from us because of the investment, and also if you can play.
Yeah, and you can tell. You can tell he wants to stay on Deion's good side, because they were still pounding the drum as the draft was starting, saying that they weren't sure that Shadur wasn't better than Cam Ward. And I'm not a Cam Ward guy. I don't think he possesses the leadership capabilities to do that. I don't think there was a quarterback in this draft that has that. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Maybe it's a slice of humble pie for Shadur, and he can go out and humble himself and go out and prove everybody wrong.
I think yesterday, and it just seemed like more so than previous drafts, there were just plenty of players who had quote unquote personality issues, or they had some, off the field problems, or however the hell you want to characterize it, right? In your experience as a player or coach, were there ever times where guys play just seemed to outwill the fact that maybe they weren't the best teammate? Or was that never allowed, or just never, that there was never a line, there was never a threshold to be crossed in terms of how well you can play compared to being a teammate?
It's just like the hot to crazy ratio. You can be who you can afford to be.
Yeah.
And some guys like to find that line where they're like, hey, I can do this. And then they do that and they get removed from the team and they say, well, I guess that was the line. And I crossed it and I didn't know it. It's not it's a mean game played by mean people. That's what's great about it.
Yeah.
But we ain't, as many of them want to hide behind the guise of church and a lot of them going to church.
This is a correlation a little bit to Nebraska because Texas is going to have a run of probably 4 offensive linemen selected, and that would double the number of Texas offensive linemen drafted from 09 to 21.
Wow.
You know the lack of linemen that have been drafted at Nebraska, or if they're drafted late. Not everybody's a Cam Jurgens. They're drafted late or they're undrafted, and they actually have a nice little NFL career. So Texas made the investment with their NIL and their focus on let's go and pay linemen. The Nebraska way to get more linemen drafted would be, the first step would be what?
Somebody on either this show or another show said that Nebraska's only focus should be on getting offensive linemen. And then somebody in Minnesota posted that out to the interwebs on X, and then superfan Husker said, no, that's the dumbest thing ever. We need a high quality quarterback. And I was like, you can have you have freaking Patrick Mahomes back there.
Yeah.
Because even the great Mahomes looked human when his line wasn't very good. So people are dumb. They don't get it. I mean, and I'm not being mean or blunt, whatever. That's just a fact. Like they think a superstar player can elevate you. If you look at how Nebraska was successful in its run of success, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They had premier offensive and defensive lines, and then they hit a couple home runs on players that were transcendent. But the one thing that was steady, that was they always had offensive and defensive lines. When they built those and then they finally got the chance to get over the hump with those players, that's what changed. But until you have that core of offensive and defensive linemen, it does not matter. It is so irrelevant on what your draft class looks like. If your offensive line and defensive line classes aren't in like the top 10 or 15, I can't begin. I'm tired. I'm tired of explaining it to people because they don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
They think you're going to, oh my God, we're going to hit this home run. We're going to get this guy. Great. You better have 1.2 second routes because that's how long he's going to be upright. And your back better be able to make moves in the backfield because that's how long it's going to be. Your linebackers better be the best reading, tackling linebackers ever because the defensive line doesn't give them any time to read and react. Like people want to poo-poo the positions, but nobody wins without them. Yeah. Nobody.
Nope. And the NFL reminded people yesterday with the first 10 picks, look at the run on linemen that are in the trenches, offense or defense. That's how you win in college. That's how you win in the NFL.
Yeah, they did that dude from Texas dirty though. He gets drafted, and then the next 2 highlights of the defensive ends or the edge rushers. Getting beat. I was like, dude, the guy's got drafted.
Let's save that for later. Hey, Matt, I know obviously like when you have a great offensive line, you're going to, the running back is going to perform better, right? Like that's simple. Everybody knows that. But in your experience, is there a vice versa to that? Have you ever found that offensive lines have a morale boost that makes them play a little bit better when they know they have an elite running back behind them?
So it's a ratio thing. Like if you have a good back, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect every play because you don't need him to bail you out every play, but about every 7, it's gonna go bad.
Sure.
You need him to be just aware of that 1 of every 7. You're gonna make him look flawless. The rest of them, he's gonna get a highlight reel on something you screw up on the 7th, every 7th play. Yeah. If you can pull that off, then you're good. But, you can, when your trenches are right, okay, everybody steps up a notch. A good back becomes great. A great back becomes elite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good.
A good quarterback becomes great. A great quarterback becomes elite. Now, when you start at that next level, when you have a great quarterback and you got a great offensive line, now you have an elite quarterback. Like, the easiest way I can equate it, how many Alabama quarterbacks have had success in the NFL?
Not a lot. Not a lot. No.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
You can attempt to name me one. Because there's none. They had such an advantage in their offensive lines, and they had so much time to diagnose things that when you get to the NFL and it's a level playing field, you find out those Alabama quarterbacks aren't very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But guess who's still playing in the league from those Alabama teams?
Yeah, they'd be the linemen.
Yeah.
And the Alabama offensive lineman's still going.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the easiest way I can equate it. When you're like that's, it would be awesome if we had that capability to just solely focus on that. Then when you focus on that and then you watch yourself recruit, watch guys come in and be like, those 7 mutants are going to be what protects me? Like, yes.
Well,
Like, yeah, I'm interested in what you do.
yeah.
Let's meet our offensive coordinator. I don't care.
Yep.
Did you see those 5 houses in front of me that are going to, and that's your best recruiting tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do you want to run? Here's quick film session. Can you hit this gap? Can you hit this and split this? Yeah, I can. Okay, that's pretty much what it looks like 1 out of every 10 plays, or 9 out of every 10 plays. So give her hell, and don't forget when you get your Heisman to acknowledge the ones that came before you.
I appreciate it, my friend. Have a great weekend.
See you, boys.
Thank you, Matt.
That's Matt Verzal. So, a little bit of what Verz said, the question you asked.
Yeah.
I think with Texas changed the narrative in recruiting that they were going to pursue high-end offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to make an investment financially, but they were going to go after them. Nebraska's had a lot of, we're going after guys, but haven't been able to recruit, get portal big names.
Yeah.
They have to get the one guy that turns the narrative because they're trying to recruit high-end offensive linemen. But the latest is a tackle. He's the number 3 offensive tackle in the country in the class of 26, Kelvin Obot. He is from Idaho. He has got USC.
Yeah.
He has got Utah. He has got Michigan, Oregon, and Nebraska are in his final 5. So some of those don't go together. So USC, Michigan, Utah, Oregon, and Nebraska. There's a guy that at some point you have to win that. But at least the narrative is in recruiting is that we are going to recruit offensive linemen, and we're not just going to settle for the guy that is in, rural Kansas.
Yeah.
Let's go for the best. They just need that one guy, and he's someone to watch. But Nebraska being in the final 5 was intriguing. But just like Marty Brown, who do they have that is the closer?
Yeah.
When you are not when you are not playing deep into December, who is the guy on the staff that is the closer that delivers the message that we may be a 7-win football team now, but when you join this team, we will not be a 7-win team, but delivers that message where whether it be a Marty Brown who is more local or a kid from Idaho who could be a multi-year starter and take care of a tackle position, you don't have to worry about it, goes, I got you. I understand. Thanks for delivering the message.
It's interesting you bring those 2 prospects up because there's been 2 positions where they have been in the running for top guys, and they haven't been able to consistently close the door. It's O-line and it's running back.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel with the O-line, they've done a good job, and I don't want to call it Rocco Spindler isn't patchwork. He's not patchwork by any mean. Like, they've been able to get some guys that come in and you're confident that they're going to be able to play, right? Ben Scott was one of those guys. They're hoping Elijah Pritchett is going to be one of those guys.
Unfortunately, you're naming guys that are out of the portal, but
yeah, exactly. And like that's
they need a homegrown guy.
Exactly. That's the difference. They're able to go out and get the portal guys that have a couple of years that, hey, we're attractive. Hey, we can give you more of an opportunity or we can treat you better. But they haven't been able to shut the door on, oh, no, you're going to start here and you're going to build with us. Look at the running backs. They got Dowdell. right? They were able to get him. Hey, we can give you more of an opportunity, but they weren't able to get Frazier and they weren't able to get Lacey, you know?
Maybe it's a Nebraska thing. Hoiberg has trouble with his high school recruiting and high school guys getting on the floor and staying here and developing. Like, that's why tomorrow, I can't wait to watch a guy like Grant Bricks.
Yeah.
I mean, if Grant Bricks doesn't participate and he's healthy, then I'm like, okay, he's in the top 2. But Grant Bricks is like the poster child for this discussion. All right, we'll take a quick break, come back, we'll put a wrap on it. You got a favorite on the Sportsbook board?
Boston -4, -4.5 at Orlando tonight.
No Jason Tatum in Disney World. There you go.
Here's why. Boston, 33-8 this year on the road. They have a better road record than home record. For whatever reason, Missoula has the boys ready when they hit the tarmac.
A deep conversation with Joey at the urinal. He said, don't worry, they got it in the bag. He said the Celtics are the Bulls and they're going to sweep them.
They're so good. They're so good. I don't care if Tatum's not in the lineup. Tatum was barely in the lineup in the finals and they still won.
How about no Tatum and Butler for game 3? We got to stop injuring our superstars. Dort last night, I think, slipped and he undercut Morant and he's on crutches. I think that series might be over.
You think?
I believe it is.
I'm a ball knower.
Yep.
What a hot take.
I'm a ball knower of
Regular Hubie Brown.
of the round ball, not Deion's. We're back to put a wrap on the week after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, good week, everybody. Tomorrow in Lincoln, it is the Husker games. There's
Hunger
a lot of stuff going on, from volleyball.
Matt gets a quarter zip.
The debut of DBK. Are you going?
I'm rooting for
going.
you.
I'm going. I'm leaving at 7 a.m.
You have to buy a ticket.
I know.
You have to have a ticket to an event.
I'm going to buy a ticket.
Okay.
And then I'm going to buy a ticket. Then I think I'm going to buy something, but more than anything, I really want to see what's there.
I mean, usually one leads to the other.
Yeah, like I'm not really being like, oh, I'm going to clear this place out or anything like that, or I'm going to buy, like, I don't have a budget or anything where it's like, oh, I have $200. Yeah. It's more so, oh, that's cool, oh, whatever. And then, like, if something really gets me, I could walk out there with nothing though.
I asked how come they haven't released a list, and they did it because they want to avoid the collectors.
Fair.
So that's also why they added you have to have a ticket to a Husker game event.
I don't think that's
to get in.
Them. I don't think that's going to stop them. I think the sweats are still going to be there. I still think that they're going to be dudes who and guys and gals who sweat, who are going to be out there at 6 a.m., who are going to run in with massive budgets, who are going to try and buy as much as they possibly can, and then bring it back to their vintage store, sell it on eBay. Which, you know what,
like,
a hustle's a hustle, so I won't fully disrespect it. At the same time, it's definitely not like the cloth in which this event was cut from. It's more so, hey guys, here's a bunch of cool stuff. Go ahead and buy it if you want, you know? So
I just hope tomorrow when they begin the football portion and the little circus that's going to go on between plays.
Hope there's an elephant.
Just 2 hours. Let's get in. Let's get out. Let me see Grant Bricks. Let me see Latif. Let me see Davia. Let me see Tamua. Let me see Nelson. Let me see Winery.
Yeah.
Let me see those guys. Let them perform.
We kind of named them all.
Get something to eat.
Let's 2 hours. The clock is ticking. Let's get in. Let's get out. And let's get on to the 2025 off season.
Yeah. Hopefully, maybe some Val's Pizza in the press room. That'd be nice. I'm looking forward to it. It's a 1 o'clock kick, so I think it'll be some barbecue and some barbecue sandwiches.
Are you going to be there as a member of the media?
So I'm going to go to the garage sale.
Okay.
I'm going to maybe purchase something. I'm then going to stuff it in my backpack. Well, I'll wear a nice, like, actual regular human, like, quarter zip, right?
There's only one media guy that wears all Nebraska gear head to toe.
Yeah. Well, only one. So I will not. No, I'm not wearing any Nebraska stuff. I will, like, look professional. I'll go to the garage sale. I'll probably buy something, stuff it in my bag, and then I'm going to go up to the press box.
I am rooting for you. I hope you tweet updates because that's how I'll live vicariously through you.
Fongway was like any live TV coverage of tomorrow's events with 16. I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm talking about you at the gear sale.
I know. I don't think anybody wants me live. No one wants to see me live stream me shopping. I'm the worst shopper of all time.
I just want you to tweet about it. Just want updates.
I look at everything, pick everything up, and then put it back. Like, I am the pickiest human ever.
Do you fold it back?
Yeah, do you fold it back?
If it's hung up, if it's a hung item, I make sure that I properly, like, re-zip it and put it on, and then I put it roughly where I grab.
Like, that up.
If it's in the medium area, I make sure I put it in the medium area.
Good.
But if it's a folded T-shirt, there's no shot I'm going to fold it like the store. Like, it's clearly going to be.
Just throw it up.
No, I won't throw it. I'll try my best to fold it, but it's going to look like, hey, somebody clearly who doesn't know how to fold tried folding this thing.
Not judging there. That's okay.
So, yeah, but I'm going to go. We'll be there.
Can't wait to hear all about it.
So what time are you getting there, 7?
I'm going to leave here at 7, so I'll get there at around 8.
And it opens at 9?
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
What do you think? That too late? Should he go earlier?
Well, no, I think that's...
No,
I mean, nobody knows what it's going to be like. I think they would consider it a success if they get over 10,000.
At the garage sale or
football in the stadium.
Really?
They have no idea. They have no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
Because the weather is actually going to be okay tomorrow. So even when you've had a regular spring game, a lot of people that can drive day of will wait to see what the weather is like.
Maybe a hoodie and shorts day.
They could have like a nice walk up.
I don't have a pulse on the campus, but I do know that I still have a lot of friends in Lincoln. No one has texted, hey, here's the plan, or this is what we're doing, or this is a possibility at all.
There'll be people tailgating. There'll be a lot of people tailgating.
I'm just talking for personal experience.
I think they think there'll be people that will tailgate, then they won't go into the stadium.
Be a beautiful day.
That happens at So that's sometimes happens at regular season games.
That's an issue that they're trying to address. So, but then
or the classic leave at halftime to the tailgate and then don't come back for the third and fourth quarter. That's a classic too.
They did a couple of years ago. They had people from marketing in the athletic department walk the parking lot when the game was going on, and they were really surprised by how many people just stay in the parking lot. And there are people that just go to Lincoln to tailgate and they don't have tickets to the game. And if they happen to get tickets, they go into the game. But they also found, because they were talking to people, the amount of people that have tickets that don't go inside, but are in Lincoln tailgating. And watch the game like from their tailgate spot, because they don't want to, because it's a hassle to go in.
Sure.
And
it's easier to get out after.
But you still
too.
have the atmosphere. The only drawback would be the delay, because you can hear the crowd react, and you don't, and it hasn't happened on your screen.
Yeah.
So everybody that's there, have fun tomorrow. We'll talk about it on Monday. I wonder how it'll be covered. Like
tweets, a lot of tweets,
depth, but like post game, like it's a very informal day.
I think there will be, like, if a guy looks really good, I think there will be some sort of article written, or maybe they'll try and pull him off and get him a quick interview. Or something like that. Who will be
the Breon Carnes of 2025 Husker games?
TJ
Lateef.
Connor Booth. Give me Connor Booth.
All right, we'll do that on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Make memories. Be safe. Enjoy time with the family or wherever you might be with your sports, your youth sports. Live, laugh, and punt. And we'll talk to you on Monday at 6. Crossover is coming up next on 1620 The Zone.